started. I think we're ready to go. I know the big question on everyone's mind. Did I get a nap? No. I got 13 minutes of like hardcore dead sleep. And I was just fighting it. You know how you're like, I must sleep. It is time to sleep. And I need an hour and a half of this or an hour of this, and I will be fine. I just need to do this. And then, boom, boom, doorbells ringing, and it's like not stuff I can turn off. Like I can put my phone on Do Not Disturb or movie time or whatever, and I can turn off the television and all that kind of stuff. And just like the number of like people at the door and stuff, it was just a lot. So I managed to finally pass out. And then our favorite kitten, our dear friend from this morning, Chip, decides that he wants to play. And he wants to play with something that apparently is tucked under my lower back on the couch. Because I was napping on the couch. And he just had to get at it, whatever it was. And, I guess I should have seen it coming. I probably could have, Chip was framed. I could have just I should have gone into the bed and got under the covers and all that kind of stuff. But I always have this thing that if I get in bed, I'm staying there. So I only nap on couches or the floor. It's a rule. If you lay down in bed until you're in, that's the whole deal, right? Do not go anywhere near the bed unless you're committed to the act. So, am I going to miss Chip terribly? And somebody was asking me about the Gabby Petito thing. I, like a lot of people, am as a follower of sort of true crime things, I'm pruriently fascinated by the horribleness of it all. I think that's where a lot of people fall. I don't think I think it's impossible to fully comprehend the horror that her parents are going through right now, and her friends and loved ones, because whatever. And on a personal note, just as a armchair Columbo, I think her fiance murderer dude fucked off. I think he's in South America someplace. I think his parents gave him a head start. I think they'd watched Mindhunter and recognized that you gotta, as soon as your kid comes home and tells you that they did something like that, then you arrange for a private flight, and then you drive the car out to the woods and drive it back and make up some sort of story. So they're looking that way for him when he went that way. That's, if he didn't, do himself in, and it's really simple. But if this is one of those situations where when you look at what someone has done and their parents' reaction to it, I think every parent has this moment of like introspection about what would happen if my child was accused of something terrible, right? What would be my reaction to it? And you would hope you would have a sound, ethical, moral position on it, and and sort of no halfways about it, not mitigating, not lying to yourself, not lying to the authorities, not trying to buy time or soften it, just dealing with the reality of it. But I don't think anybody thinks, that's not true. There's tons of people probably, but who would go, oh yeah, if my kid came home and said he killed his girlfriend, I'm putting him on the first private jet out of town. We're just going to set up a dummy bank account before we even call the cops. He'll be home for 2 days. We can do it all in 24 hours. I can set up a Cayman account. By the time they ask us about it, he's already gone. Like these people seem shitty like that. So anyways, that's my own feeling on it. And the parents seem creepy and dismissive, and it's gross. And did I see Matt Anderson Cawthorn's new ad? I've seen his little speech and his ad and all this stuff. He's trying to make noise because he knows he's losing. That's again, there are groups you have to worry about because the louder they get, the more dangerous they become. And then there are groups that the louder they get, it shows the more trouble they're in. Matt Gaetz, Trump, that crowd. there's a division. You have to be able to tell the difference. Cawthorn's in that category. He is, as much as he wants to be Bob Roberts, he's not. So, yeah, I'm sure there's some fascinating details that will come out, and it will be the story of true crime specials and whatnot. But yeah, did they get a search warrant for the house? Yes, they did. So, I don't know if they'll put them on a lie detector. It'll be fascinating. It's not admissible in court. It's usually meant to pressure people. And if these are the kind of people who would just, help their son skate on a murder charge when they know he physically murdered her. I mean, again, let's just go with the idea that he may have bullshitted both of them, that she threw herself off a cliff and no one's going to believe him, and he blah, 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 and they're stupid enough to go with that and not realize that the coroner's going to show that he's lying to them. But they show up and, he shows up there and they're just immediately buy that story and help him get out of town. It's just, it's sketchy as hell. But again, those are the folks that raised a guy that was capable of doing that in allegedly, right? Yes, in regards to Petito. And Dog the Bounty Hunter thing is just a publicity stunt. What a jackass. Please. It's like me walking up and knocking on the door. Hello? Although, I think my hair looks better. I'm just saying. I do look a little tired today, but it's understandable. All right, let's get on with the show. This is one of those days where I just don't have enough time, and I'm exhausted, so I couldn't even do the long show if I wanted to. You know me. You guys know me. I like to burn the candle at both ends and try to light the middle. It's how I live. But there are just some days when there's too much candle and not enough flame. Does that make sense? Whatever. Yes, I'm Hal the Cat Wrangler. Much better than Dog the Bounty Hunter. Caffeine will only be so much. Hype train. Thanks, everybody. Yes, we're going to need some hype. Level 4 already. Bless you. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for all the love on Twitch right now. I am trying to set up. It's going to take some time since I'm going to be exhausted, but I'm trying to set up a visual Twitch subscriber goal and a YouTube subscriber goal that pops up to let us know where we are regularly, because currently, congratulations everybody. I got a little, it's not quite the 100,000 subscriber plaque you get, but I got a little tiny, congratulations, new achievement, 25,000 subscribers. We're at 25,295, like that. We just cleared that a couple days ago, and already there's almost 300 new subscribers in that. So thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for watching the show and the clips and the pieces and the stuff and passing it around and sharing it. It really does help. It's been amazing, and we're at a point where it's going to start rolling even bigger. I am trying to avoid any clickbaity tricks. I am definitely tapping the brakes in how CSL and I do our video titles, so as not to be unnecessarily inflammatory, but indeed reflecting the genuineness of the content. That's a tough part, because if you look at everybody else's clickbait titles, it's always destroyed, it's destroyed. They have destroyed. What is the host of our favorite show destroys the person who you do not like, right? And it's just destroyed, and then that person who they destroyed is on the next day. And you're like, they still have a job. I don't know how destroyed they are. It's pretty lame definition of destroyed. But anyways, so I try to avoid that stuff as much as possible. So organic growth is tough, so please spread it around. There you go. That said, we do have this little thing that I put up a couple days ago that's finally working, and it's fantastic, and thank you. Hype train, is it level 5 already? Right on. So excited. All right. Now let's get into this, because we have a whole lot of stupid today. I mean, isn't it terrible when it's not even Halloween yet and the Republicans have already got their war on Christmas decorations up? It's absolutely, yes, it's aggravating. Hal Sparks obliterates the war on Christmas. I obliterate and destroy the destroying of obliteration. Destroy the Obliterator. I'm just going to be Hal the Obliterator Sparks. just as a like auto clickbait. Just get that. It's like I've changed my name to a bunch of Your Honor, I would like to change my name legally to what? Whatever the top 5 trending tags are on YouTube. I do believe it would be better for business. So yeah, the Christmas is spoiled. It's just all spoiled. Now let's start off with something that's short and sweet, a little aperitif, a little bit of business. This is remember how Mike Lindell said that he's taking his thing to the Supreme Court, his case, not his thing. That would be weird. He's taking his case to the Supreme Court, and they're totally going to do it, and it's totally happening, and you totally can believe it, and it's totally real, and it's totally happening, and Steve Bannon made him totally say it. And then a little light on details. Now he has a petition. This is how he's going to do it. He's crowdsourcing fuckers for this. Hats off to CSL for finding this nonsense. Look at this website name. Fuck, man, this is so good. This is so good. Fix2021st.com. Maybe I'm a little sleep silly, but that's hilarious. He's got a petition that's going to motivate the Supreme Court to do this, and it's fix2021st.com. Jesus Christ. And by the way, just for clarification, he does not mean all the COVID deaths Trump ignored. Yes, the .com was available. I'm shocked. It's certainly not a .org, by the way. Notice that. Think about that. Focus on that. It's not a .org. He's making money off this son of a bitch. That's the idea. And you sign up now. It gives your email, required, and your phone number, which is desired. And sign this petition to encourage the Supreme Court to accept the bill of complaint. Wait, hold on. I have to slide this over so you can see it. Is it a lawsuit? No. It's a bill of complaint. Did I see Ted Cruz today? Which part? There's been a few. So, bill of complaint. Please accept this bottle of wine. Oh, Hal, make a Christmas song, you get royalties forever. It's not a bad idea. It should do a Christmas song called "Christmas with the Assholes," and it's just about your relatives that you have to deal with every time. Okay, so he's in front of his big Jesus lion painting, and he's got his complimentary eagle from his first and only trip to Mar-a-Lago, his certificate of excellence in what? I don't know what. We don't know what. But fix2021st.com and sign the petition. This is just 90 seconds. I have to watch this. Okay, here we go. Okay, everything he just said is a lie except his name. And at this point, oh shit, there's no sound on it? Oh, right, beg your pardon. Hold on, back up. That's my fault. Okay, but my bad. Start over again, Mike. They want to hear you. The following is a total fucking lie.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you all know, I was brought cyber forensic evidence back on January 9th that 100% proves and validates everything that happened in the 2020 election.
Yeah, you heard it that time, right? You heard it that time? No, not by any measure. Again, everything he just said is a complete lie, accept his name, and even then, I insist his name is Mike Pillow. I don't know why he insists on calling himself Mike Lindell anymore. I think it's rude to the Lindell family and the Lindell family name. He should furthermore and forthwith and forever refer to himself as Mike Pillow. Middle name. So there. Jesus.
Promised everyone in February that I would do everything I could to get this evidence to the Supreme Court. Well, first I spent months validating this evidence.
That's also a lie. No, he did not. He was even bitching the weekend of that they didn't have time to look into the evidence. The point of the cyber symposium was he was going to get all these people there to validate the evidence. And they didn't get to see it till the weekend before, and they said it's not what he says it is. It's moronic.
Then I had a cyber symposium in August, of which all 50 states were represented.
No, they weren't. There were people from all 50 states. That does not mean they were represented. It's a small lie, but it's very important. This asshole wants you to think that officials from all 50 states in the United States showed up to give their blessing to this Cyberama bullshit. This Cyberama ding-dong wants you to think that the states all they gavelled up an order and bought a plane ticket for each of their secretaries of state or some assistant undersecretary to the secretary of state and sent someone representing the great state of Minnesota like he was having his own fucking mini electoral college thing. It's nonsense. It's a lie.
Evidence that was shown was proved to be from the 2020 November 3rd election.
No, it was not. The guys from the white hat hackers, he was like, this is ridiculous. It's just a mishmash of bullshit.
This manifested into many states reaching out and wanting their state audited. And
yes, states that Trump won, and the states don't want this. Individuals or individual legislators from those states have gone back and started going, we should do this in states that Trump won. And every time they look, he loses votes. So I don't give a shit. Knock yourself out. If you went to his Cyberama ding dong and you let your balls wag in front of this nudnik, and he convinced you that you need to look into your election and do a full forensic audit on every single ballot and look for panda shit, knock yourself out, because what you're going to find is somewhere between 100 and 1,000 more Biden votes, and Trump is going to lose by 20,000. It's just going to be silly. At one point, it's going to crest over to a new record.
Helping bring this to the Supreme Court. So now I'm promising this to you. This case will be presented to the Supreme Court before...
What the fuck? Presented to? Do you guys remember what he's been talking about with this? You didn't say presented to, Mike. You frigging liar. He's been saying this whole time it's going to be brought before the Supreme Court. Now, when you hear brought before, don't you think it means it'll actually be heard? The judges themselves will somehow, or their assistants or the people who work for the clerks will look through all the material and say, yes, we need to see this, and they'll file this thing, and one or two of the judges will go, I believe this should be brought forth. Clarence Thomas and Amy Coney Barrett will, believe that they we must bring this in front of it, and then it'll be 9-0. That's what he's been telling you. That's what he's been saying. Brought before, not submitted. Anybody can submit something, for fuck's sake. Anybody can write a letter and stick it between, as the doors are being shut on you. I submitted it. It's been submitted. How'd you submit it? Well, I dropped it off. It had a stamp on it. Whoops. Wait, why did he mute? That's weird.
Was also involved in this historical crime against our country. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter, as we have to fix 2020 first and get...
Yeah, first of all, just for the record, I want to go on. I am a Democrat. I did vote for Joe Biden. I don't believe 2020 is broken, with the exception of the fact that we now know that Trump knew that COVID was worse than he said it was, but he was so interested in his trade deal with China, which was do I even have the quote on it? I need to find the Smokey and the Bandit clip. Chicken shit money. It's chicken shit money. It was $30 billion deal. They ended up spending a third of it. Don't get me started on that whole part of it again. But now we know that that China was buying PCR tests and gear to deal with a coronavirus outbreak as far back as May of that year. So they were lying for a lot longer. While I was there, by the way. And I got, I had a really bad cough for a little while in February when I came, after I'd been one more trip at the end of the year. And I ultimately I don't think I had it, but I had, it laid waste to me, it was a long cough that was awful in 2020. But I got like food poisoning while I was in China. That was one of the most brutal I've ever had. It was next to being poisoned on purpose. It was like the worst feeling. This was not a surprise, not only to folks like myself, but the intelligence community under Trump was being stiff-armed. We're going to find out one day that there was a warning about COVID that is the equivalent of the president's daily brief that says Osama bin Laden determined to strike inside the United States. And Trump ignored it. That we're going to find that out at some point. How does the PCR work? Doesn't it need specific C19? Yes. But remember, the disease happened there. They had access to it at the Wuhan lab. They were isolating it, and they posted the genome for it in January, which means they've been working at it before. That didn't mean they got it in January. They could have had it since June. That's the thing that people seem to miss. They're like, well, there wasn't even a PCR test. There wasn't over here. There wasn't in the rest of the world. But inside China, they hide that stuff. It's not, I don't know why this is right. 666 people in the chat. Please feel free to help out with a super chat and any $6.66 increment you can think of just to drive the right wing crazy and to support the show. Also, like and subscribe, give a thumbs up. Don't forget to become a Patreon and also other things, anything you can do to help. If you can do nothing to help because you're just in dire straits and the world is seemingly crashing around you, sit back, take a deep breath, and enjoy the show. All right, here we go. What were you saying, Mike, you dipshit?
The machines, or we lose our country and our freedoms forever. You
really had to. You had to do slam edits on this.
That the 9 Supreme Court justices who are there to protect our country will vote 9-0 to accept.
Okay, you're a fucking lunatic. You're a lunatic. You're a lunatic. Brett Kavanaugh will not sign off on this bullshit. Just beyond the idea that the liberal judges will somehow like magically be against it because they hate America and they're really part of a plan to subvert the United States. There's no way Alito and Roberts are going for this bullshit. It's nonsense. And especially this 9-0. There hasn't been a 9-0 about anything in ages. This is ridiculous. Yes, Brett Kavanaugh, precisely. Only Trump knows how to pronounce it correctly. Let me see if I can find him. I've rearranged all these. Nope, that's not it.
I had to beat off.
No, that wasn't it either. I have to arrange these better.
First new branch of the U.S. Armed Forces in 75 years, Space Force. Not since the Air Force.
Not since the Ass Force. All right. We continue.
This case. Now you can help. I'm asking you to please.
No, you can't. Hey, asshole, if you're thinking of signing up for this because you're trying to save America, he's collecting your email to sell you pillows. That's it. Fuck him. and fuck that like weird gap you have in your goddamn skull that doesn't let you understand this. He's collecting the same thing he did on Frank and on Lindell TV. This is what he's doing. He's collecting your email to sell you pillows. And he's going to whine you into buying pillows saying that they're attacking me and I'm going to lose money and they kick me off in the box stores and we have to save our country and blah, blah, blah. And so he's going to want you to buy his pillows and give money to this stupid thing. They're going to send you donation links for this shit. Nonsense. You are being grifted. I am trying to help you. I don't even like you and I'm trying to help you. I think you're an asshole and I can't wait to have you and your money separated by a grifter like this. But my morals and my ethics will not allow me. There's this reference in my family that my grandmother's cooking is so good that if you put a plate of her food on top of your head, your tongue will beat your brains out trying to get to it. And that's been a running line that my dad has said my entire life. And it's true. About anything that's delicious, but specifically my grandmother's fish fingers was what it was. But my ethics are like that. Like if I try to slip a like I don't think Republicans should vote, that kind of thing, my own ethics will just beat my brains out trying to get to that lie and choke it off before I can leave the house. My asshole, my pillow's new product. Shit.
And this petition to encourage the Supreme Court to accept.
And yes, the Twitch did have an info leak. It is true. I changed my passwords today. There you go.
Complaints brought by patriotic states to save our country. Thank you and God bless.
God bless what? God bless what, Mike? God bless. Why can't you say God bless America? What's your problem, Mike? You say God bless and then you go to total darkness. You think I don't notice that? You don't think I don't notice the evil? You know, like God bless and then you go to black and in your own Satan like that. You don't think I didn't hear Mike at the tail end there? God bless Satan as you, and then you God bless pillows. Jesus. All right. So there do you eat fish sticks? Right. No, fish sticks. Sticks. I don't know what you thought you were eating. It's one of my favorite lines from the Marta Kaufman, David Crane pilot that I did called Reality Check, which Malcolm in the middle stole the entire concept for. Anyways, Trump did an interview on Yahoo Finance. It was a complete mistake. Of course, it was on the phone because they couldn't get him into dentist office on Space Station Alpha with auto cameras with laser guides. And by the way, hey Don Jr., in case you're hate watching this, which I know you do, that teleprompter, it's a sweet one, man. It's sweet. I mean, you're talking about $18,000 to $25,000, but you're supposed to be rich, right? Aren't you rich? Aren't you rich? Huh? Aren't you rich? Aren't he's rich. That's what he is. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So here we go. This is I have not watched any of this. I know Pacman did like 3 lines from it, but unlike some of these other saps online, I do the real deal, the whole thing. I do not cut anything so that I cannot be accused later of cutting things out of context the way Hannity and these other assholes do. If they put a clip up, I do the whole thing. That's how it works. Here we go. Hey, Templeton, how are you? So here we go. Oh, God.
Donald Trump was elected November 8th, 2016 to become the 45th president of the United States.
Citation needed. I actually, just for the record, he won the Electoral College and only by 75,000 votes. And those were because a lot of people left the thing blank. And that's still questionable in my mind today. Although I do believe in the legitimate transfer of power. So I don't believe there's a legal pushback against it. But on a moral and ethical level, I think he's full of shit. Secondly, he lost the popular vote by 3 million in a democracy. So. Splitting hairs. And by the way, congrats on being Dr. Drew's stunt double.
His administration, there was historic law passed, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, as well as the...
Why was it historic? Based on what? Historically asinine because the tax breaks for individuals were temporary and the corporate tax break was meant to be permanent?
Nation of the departments, FDA, HHS, Department of Defense, CDC, and what we all know as Operation Warp Speed, the 18 billion...
excuse me. You can't just drop that.
Captain's log.
All right.
...dollar program to not only develop, but then deliver vaccines against COVID-19. The 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, joins us now on Yahoo Finance Live. Mr. President, thank you for being here.
He's not actually there. He's on the phone. Thank you for joining us today, is what you say. If you look in the teleprompter, put that in there next time. I don't want to be a stickler. I don't have a bone to pick with this dude in particular, but thank you for joining us. All right.
Adam, very much.
Wanted to ask you, a lot of us are curious what you think of the current state of the U.S. economy.
Terrible, terrible, terrible. The whole thing is terrible. It would be so much better if I was here. We had it so great, but it's terrible.
Well, it looks to me like inflation is going to ravage our country. I was there a long time ago with Jimmy Carter as president, and the inflation was devastating.
How and this is related, like how? And never mind. I mean, of course, it's what he's going to say. The inflation has, and obviously the bottleneck created by COVID and the switching of people from China to other manufacturing spots is going to be a factor. And of course, the backup at ports now, the goods are starting to ship again, and China's trying to overproduce, but then of course they're cutting their fuel yields, and their coal output is terrible. They've stopped taking in Australian coal, so they're shuttering plants during high production points, which means they're not producing as much stuff, and there's a chip shortage because of it. But it's probably Biden's fault. You know what? I take it back. It's probably Biden's fault.
You had a prime rate that went up to 21%, which is not even believable when you think of it.
Yeah, because it was 18% at the time. That's how it used to be. And house prices used to be a lot lower because the mortgage rate was really high. So it offset it. Once the mortgage rate started going down, people could get more cash out of it at a lower rate. And so the housing market exploded.
And I saw things during that period as a businessman that I have never quite seen even since. And we've had...
As a businessman? You mean during that time when you were denying black people the ability to rent your buildings, you fucking moron? There's nothing as a businessman.
Recessions, but not since. And it's very scary.
Not since. You remember 2008? Were you just completely coked out of your gourd?
When you look at gasoline from $1.87 a gallon when I was president, it went from...
When no one was going anywhere because of a disease he said was no big deal and would go away very shortly, and there were 14 people with cases, and one lady was a little bit sick who turned out to be a dead guy.
87, and now it's well over $5, and it's going to go a lot up.
It's not well over $5. There are $5 in California and places like that, in areas where they can gouge you, and then the rest of it's about $4 a gallon, and they're making up... It's a price differential from last year.
And they're calling OPEC, and they're calling Russia and Saudi Arabia trying to make a deal. We had so much, we were energy independent. And, when you talk about inflation...
Okay, hopefully this is where the guy actually starts to show why he's on a Yahoo business channel. Instead of just letting this bullshit go, he has to go, people have to listen to me about investments and news about economic issues. So if I just let you say this without any pushback, why would anyone take me seriously ever again? We'll see.
Energy is a big part of it, because if you make products, you have to deliver them with trucks and everything else. So
let's talk about the energy part of that,
problem.
though. The energy part, I'm glad you brought up inflation, because I got the latest numbers. CPI in August, 5.3%. If you take out fuel and food, 4%. But look, Americans are paying $6.99 for a half gallon of milk. When you talk about, for instance, fuel, the pace of inflation is actually slowing. That's what the government said. And then in California, I think, the average price of a gallon of gas in California is over $4, but the rest of the country, it's like $3.50, $3.60.
All right, there we go. Congratulations. I take back even referring to you remotely as someone as awful as Dr. Drew. Thank you for knowing shit. And yeah, and milk is $6 for a half a gallon. That's a New York price. That has to be a bodega price.
So it's not over $5 right now.
Hold on 1 second. Let me, if I may. I don't know if I'll see this. Hold on. See if I can find it on here. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Here's a half gallon of milk. It's $1.89. Here's a gallon. A gallon of milk is $3.79. That's from Whole Foods. Here's $6.07 for ultra pasteurized organic whole milk. Is $6.79. That maybe that's what he's talking about for a gallon of like super milk from, again, organic pasteurized stuff. But they're like this is a half gallon of milk. Like, what is he talking about? It's $1.89 for a half gallon. I don't know where the fuck that came from. Did we hear him right? Is that my? Am I? Hold on.
California's over $4, but the rest of the country, it's like, for instance, fuel. The pace of inflation is actually slowing. That's what the government said. And then in California, I think, the average price of a gallon of gas in California is over $4, but the rest of the country, it's like $3.50, $3.60. So it's not over $5 right now.
Well, a lot of the country, when I look at the country, I'm hearing numbers that are going to be $5 or
that are going to be. Yeah, that's a good point. That they're going to be. Why are you hearing numbers like that? Oh, because Jim Jordan is telling you we're headed towards Marxism.
To be. Don't forget, OPEC already turned down the United States. They went to OPEC of all groups, and they asked for relief on getting gasoline, getting barrels of oil sent in. That's
what they asked for. Obviously, look, you can't expect him to actually know the details of this kind of a deal. It's not like he was fucking president for 4 years. What did they ask for?
On getting gasoline, getting barrels of oil sent in. We had so much we didn't know.
That's what they asked for. Asked for gasoline getting on barrels of oil set in, and we had so much we didn't know what to do with it because Saudi Arabia and Russia were overproducing to try and kill each other in the market, and of course no one was going anywhere.
Look, we were energy independent. We had so much that we didn't know what to do with it. And now all of a sudden they're asking OPEC for help. They're asking Russia and Saudi Arabia for help. And I think that you're going to see numbers that we haven't seen in a long time for gasoline. And
not yet, obviously, not yet. That's not what he meant. When he said that inflation is out of control and it's $5 a gallon and higher and it's crazy, what he meant was it's going to be. In like 2 weeks, about 2 weeks right after his healthcare plan comes out, that's when you can just count on it. Like, if the day his healthcare plan drops, then all the shit he's saying will come true. Just so you know, it's all one day. It all is, yeah.
Already are. You were at $1.87 a gallon. And even if you take your $3.50 number, and that's just the low section, but a lot of the country is going to be and is already over $5. And what it's going to be in a year from now, Adam, I think is going to be much higher than that.
I want to get to some of the issues economically that we're all confronting, and
that you know even less about than about fuel shortages. Like, for example, I'm sorry to backseat interview here, but maybe bring up that China is dumping is burning its own fuel reserves, and so it's needing to buy more on the market as well, which is driving the price up a little bit. Also, the fact that India is now buying up all the Australian coal that's been sitting on Chinese docks, that's literally been sitting unspent. They will not let them use it, even though it burns cleaner, than the stuff that they use, which is full of all sorts of silt and garbage, and it's unrefined. No, not gonna. He wouldn't know.
California, I've been corrected by my staff that it is over $5, but in a lot of the country, gas is under $5. But we have a short amount of time. And I wanted to ask you, because one of the issues that we're dealing with is this debt ceiling discussion. What worries you about whether we raise the debt ceiling or don't raise the debt ceiling? And what do you think of Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's recommendation to just do away with it?
So I think we're in trouble no matter what. If you raise it, that's
great. That's leadership. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump's leadership in a nutshell. If you do it, damned if you do and damned if you don't. So it's best to let someone else do it and bitch about it. I mean, what sums up republicanism better on a governing scale anyways than that? Nobody will like you if you do A, and nobody will like you if you do B. A and B are your only choices. So best to sit back and go, I actually have a choice C, but I can't, I'm not in there, so I can't do it. And then when you get in there, you're like, all my choices are A or B. Yeah. Jesus.
Not a good thing because the bill is so bad, the $3.5 trillion, and if you raise it, bad, and if you don't raise it, bad. It's a
great.
Bad.
If you raise it, bad. If you don't raise it, bad. Can somebody please give him a squeaky toy?
Situation to be in. The bottom line.
Yeah. It's tough to be the president and actually give a shit.
The $3.5 trillion plus $1.2 trillion plus other things that we had to do for COVID, et cetera, et cetera. You're talking about historic numbers, and I just don't know if this economy can take it. And if it can't take it, it's been a bad bet. So raising...
It's been a bad bet. What? The American experiment? If we can't take on... We have like a $22 to $27 trillion GDP. We spend somewhere in the order of 15% on our debt servicing. We could afford to do 20% easily and prorate so many things out over time. And through expansion, even though we would be using that 20%, that would eventually go down because of the amount of revenue taken in by the expansion of the economy as you grow the middle class, which is exactly what the Build Back Better plan is aiming at. This is a bad bet. Fuck off. Jesus. America, a bad bet. Donald John Trump.
It is bad, and not raising it is bad. I mean, you just look at what's happening, and...
You just look at what's happening. Can he just say that more often? And what the fuck is this asshole smiling about? Why would you use this picture? It's a guy is bad, and if you do it, it's bad, and if you don't do it, it's bad. Cool. Thanks, man. Can you sit the fuck down? The adults are working.
A lot of bad scenarios, but I think the worst scenario is $3.5 trillion. I just don't think our country can take it, and I think they're changing the norm of the country by doing it.
But help me understand what you just...
Help me understand what the fuck are you talking about? I love that. Help me understand. What? You can tell this... Look at the look on this guy's face like, this man was president. Jesus Christ. We dodged a bullet.
Of the country. by doing it.
that like, uh, that's sweet. Watch the dude.
And I think they're changing the norm of the country by doing it.
But
what?
Help me understand what you just said, because the $3.5 trillion.
He can't. I'll help you understand. It was gibberish. It was word salad. It normally gets him applause, and he doesn't. There's no there. Do not dig down into this pile of turds. There is no corn.
Reconciliation bill that the Democrats are debating amongst themselves about how they get that through.
Yes, dig down into the reconciliation. Tell us what's in it. Trump, please tell us what's in it. Oh, it's going to be great.
That doesn't deal with the debt ceiling as we understand.
At all. Right.
Now, the debt ceiling covers the debt that administrations, Republican and Democratic administrations,
including you. And the only reason it has to be raised is to pay for what was accrued during your presidency. The raise is about just you.
All accrued over the last several decades. So
but
why wouldn't we want to make good
Adam, and this, right? But this will add to it.
It won't.
And whether if you call it,
yeah, nicely done, Adam. It won't. It's paid for with tax hikes.
Infrastructure bill, which really it's a small percentage of that money goes to infrastructure. If you talk about that one at 1.2 trillion, it all adds to it, whether it's immediately or into the future. It's tremendous borrowing. There's no way that they can take this. You know, they're saying it's net neutral. It's not net neutral. It's just the opposite of
what's the opposite of net neutral?
It's net neutral. It's not net neutral. It's just the opposite of net neutral.
Okay, thanks. Brilliant. I'm so glad we could have you on Yahoo Finance. Holy shit. Do you think he just discovered the word net neutral? All right. I think do you think he's confusing like net neutrality and net zero emissions and his understanding of what net means? Oh.
This will add to it, whether it's immediately or into the longer term.
Are you saying
wait,
should not raise the debt ceiling, though, and default on the debt we've already accrued? Because whether they pass any of the infrastructure, the $1.2 trillion, or the reconciliation bill, we have to raise the debt ceiling to pay for our previous debt. Are you saying we should not do that?
Well, I say this. I say that the Republicans have a very strong card to play, and they can get a lot of what they want and what they feel.
God damn. You just couldn't find a worse picture of Mitch McConnell? Holy shit. These look like posters for the Cocoon Insidious crossover.
You know, this was an election, and we don't have to get into it, but this was an election that was rigged, and it was.
All right. You're asshole. You're on Yahoo Finance. This is where you should be convincing people that you were great as the helm of the economy, and you would be. I don't even know why.
Very, very close. At worst, it was extremely close. This was not a mandate to change.
It was a giant mandate. 81 million votes.
The norms of our society.
No one's changing the norms of our society. There's nothing in it that changes the norms of our society. Even universal pre-K and 2 years of community college create optional extras on the outside of the public school system. We just recognize now in the modern era that there are better ways to educate people. And there are some people who are going to go off to university and get administrative jobs and creative jobs and what have you. And there are going to be people who get vocational jobs and need 2 years of community college to carry that out or some equivalent therein. And we just know that now. This isn't changing. This is adapting forward to what we have always known was good for our own citizens.
It's not a mandate to become a socialist country or worse.
We're not a fucking socialist country. This isn't socialism. None of it's socialism. None of it. None of it is socialism. If it was socialism, we would create old folks' homes. We would create pre-K schools that were run by the state. That would be the only people that work there would be federal and state employees. You get grants and money to go find your own, for fuck's sake.
And I think the Republicans have to play the cards that they're dealt. Now, that's a very, very powerful card.
Oh, you mean the losing? No.
It's a very strong card. Hopefully they won't have to play it, but I think they will in order to do something with the 3.5 and other things.
Mr. President, you just said something and opened a window, so I have to respond to you about when you said the election was rigged. It was Mitch McConnell, who is, the majority leader in the Senate, who said on January 6th, nothing before us proves illegality anywhere near the massive scale that would have tipped the entire election, nor can public doubt alone justify a radical break when the doubt itself was incited without any evidence. That's Mitch.
Also, we now know that the incited without any evidence, that evidence that was alleged came from Facebook, and Rudy doesn't even know where he heard it from.
McConnell, Mr. President. So why do you persist with the election was rigged?
Mitch McConnell doesn't know what he was talking about. If you look at the data that's coming in from many states, you'll see that more votes than they had voters. If you look at Arizona, which, by the way, other than the coverage, the fake coverage in the press, if you look at Arizona and the findings, they had many findings. They were tens.
Yeah, they had findings. Lots of findings.
Thousands of votes, and it was a very close election. They had tens of thousands of votes that were either fraudulent or could have been fraudulent.
Yeah, those were all Trump voters, and you lost by an even bigger margin. I think you lost Arizona by 80,000 minimum. Clearly, everyone who faked a vote during the election was a Trump voter. You told them to do it. You told them to vote by mail and go in person. Everyone who's been caught cheating voted for Trump. We got 100% of the murder your wife and vote for Trump with her ballot vote. 100%. That's a key demographic, Mr. President, Mr. Former President, Mr. Former microblogger.
They didn't
know. That's not
that
what the Cyber Ninjas
that
found.
Alone would have turned
You're talking
state.
about the 74,000 votes, which actually were early votes. Those were valid votes.
No, I'm talking about much more than that. If you go to the findings in Arizona, you will see. Now, I just heard with a different county, they just found 35,000 additional votes. Don't forget, I so-called lost by approximately 10,000 votes. And I heard yesterday they just found an additional 35,000 votes. So
excellent. So you lost by 45,000 by that count. Okay, cool.
The Attorney General is investigating to see, and we'll find out soon. He's looking at the whole thing.
Yeah, here's what you'll find out. Nothing. Yeah. If they find any votes were missing or not counted, they will all be Biden votes that were kicked out by Republicans, and Biden's lead will grow every time you look. Every single time.
But if you look at the findings of that report done by the Senate, not done by me, it was done by the Senate of Arizona.
Other smart people, respected people who were very disappointed and now getting death threats from lunatics because their findings didn't pay off the way they promised they would.
Findings are damning. Now, Mitch McConnell doesn't know what he's talking about.
Let's get back to the economy.
Well, for the record, though, he does still have his job. That doesn't work his way, because you don't. He does. So much as I'm not a fan, and cyber ninjas, take a look at Kentucky, knock yourself out. But I think we can all agree on baseline facts. Mitch McConnell still have job. Have job. Have job. You're broke old man, no job. You have no job. No job for you. But Mitch McConnell still have a job. He is obstructing with his turtle shell, and he eats lettuce.
Because Gary Cohn, an economic advisor and one of the architects of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, has joined us repeatedly. And he's pointed out on our program that a couple of promises that the tax cut would pay for itself have not delivered, and that the growth that they would generate did not deliver. How do you respond to that? What happened?
Well, I don't know what Cohn said. I can tell you this, that until COVID worked its way into our country and into the
Worked its way into our country. Did it?
from China, right out of probably almost certainly the Wuhan lab. Until COVID came in, you had an economy that was roaring like never before. And
Not even close to true. All right.
even after we did that and went through the hell of COVID-19 or the China virus or Wuhan or whatever you want to call it, even as we worked our way, and when I left office, our economy was really starting to get strong again because the foundation was so good. Had we not had COVID, then Gary Cohn would have been 100% wrong. He would have been anyway, probably.
Well,
but
But we entered a recession in February of last year.
the COVID element.
I love how he's like, but yeah, I actually have numbers in front of me.
He would have been anyway, probably.
well,
But the COVID.
I mean, by the way, Adam, welcome to the world we all find ourselves in when Trump is speaking. Well, but like that must have been the most commonly used phrase among anybody working in the White House around Trump when he started speaking. Well, hashtag, well, but.
Been 100% wrong. He would have been anyway, probably.
well,
But the COVID element is a very important thing that came out of China, but it came out of, in a sense, just from a timing standpoint, nobody ever thought this was possible to have something.
Nobody ever thought it was possible to have something except everyone.
Yes, this was in 1917, where 100 million.
Son of a bitch! 1918, you orange turd.
People died. Nobody thought a thing like this was positive. And
Well, no, yes, that's true. No one did think it was positive. Well, I don't even know if that's true. I'm sure Charlie Kirk and a few of them are happy when they think it kills the right people. Nobody thought it was positive.
where 100 million people died, nobody thought a thing like this was positive. And frankly, if I didn't come up...
I mean, in general, I think that's a decent generalization, Mr. Former microblogger, that no one thought it was positive that we would have a pandemic on the scale we hadn't seen in 100 years. I mean, I'm a silver lining kind of a guy, but even
the vaccines in record-setting time, less than 9 months, and also buy a lot of the vaccine production and all. You wouldn't have the shots for another 5 months from now. So,
Mr. President.
Well, that's because it was recommended in the emergency plan left behind by the pandemic response team, and the Congress already had contingents for this very thing set in place after swine flu and SARS everybody recommended this as a primary response, that you would want to do this. If you ever find yourself in that situation, you're going to want to front load it. And by the way, those early, and he's bragging about buying those extra doses. That's the debt ceiling we need to rise. We need to rise in the debt ceiling so we can pay for that, because you pre-bought because no.
Tremendous numbers of lives, but
I do
the
want to.
economy was roaring.
Can I just?
No economy in history has ever roared.
Actually,
before.
Mr. President.
Actually, no. Yeah, well, not even close.
On the economy, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Bureau of Economic Analysis points out, without COVID, the first 3 years of your administration, the average growth was 2.5%. And the last 3 years of President Obama's administration was 2.3%. So not a dramatic change.
We had the highest stock market in history. We had the most number of jobs.
You always have the highest stock market in history, unless it takes a shit. It's always going up. Do you think Reagan gets to dunk on Eisenhower about the stock market?
History, and we were getting ready to rock. We were starting to get the changes done with the horrible trade deals that were made with all of these countries.
All we had to do was finish the Chinese trade deal, and if they hadn't, I just don't feel the same way about it. If they hadn't done what they did,
made a great trade deal with China, which we actually completed, which has helped our farmers greatly.
No, he didn't. Look at the look on his face, like completed. It was a 3-phase deal. You did phase 1, and they only lived up to a third of phase 1. 1/9 of what the deal would be.
Did the USMCA, this country was ready to rock until COVID came.
Ready to rock. Yeah, because when I think rock, I think derp. Like B-grade dinner theater, Ted Knight, and Caddyshack.
Let's talk about COVID because Operation Warp Speed is...
Oh, you son of a bitch. And you had to do that again to me, didn't you?
Captain's log.
All right.
The positives from the administration, and you've brought up the need for vaccines. You've actually told people to get vaccines. I'm just curious. I got the Pfizer vaccine. Which vaccine did you get? Have you shared that with us yet?
Well, I got the Pfizer, and I would have been very happy with any of them. I thought a very bad statement was when they did a pause on Johnson & Johnson. I think that frightened people. That was a bad thing to do. At that time, when they did the pause, they had 6 people that may have had some difficulty out of millions that received it, but I think the pause was a very bad thing to do.
Mr. President, you've talked a lot about the good state of your health, and I'm curious, would you get the booster shot?
Well, if I felt it was necessary.
If I felt it was, I know more about war than the generals and more about economics than the accountants and stuff. So clearly I know more about vaccines than the doctors. And if I felt like, you know what? It's a booster kind of a Wednesday. You know what I mean?
I guess I have sort of a double vaccine because, as you know, I had it, recovered from it pretty well. I don't think I had it like the press, like the media said. They would try making it difficult. It's not pleasant, but I had it. I recovered. I, in addition to that, got the shot. I mean, I'm somebody that tells people I'd like to see them get it. I also want them to have their freedoms, etc. But I got the double shot. And if I felt that it was necessary, and let's see where this whole thing is going, I mean, I was surprised. I thought it would have been gone long before now. You don't hear Biden being criticized for the fact that this thing is lingering on in some cases, numbers that are very, very large.
Yeah, in Trump territory, because your own followers think that it was rushed. I wonder why.
Captain's log.
I wonder why, when you name something warp speed,
Captain's log.
why people would think, for some reason, that it was rushed.
Captain's log.
Yeah.
It is, Mr. President, it is lingering on, but when I mentioned you had said to your supporters, get a vaccine, some of them booed, and the current data shows us that it's the unvaccinated that are contributing to why it's lingering. What do you say to those people?
Well, it's interesting. When I was president, everybody wanted to get the vaccine. Everybody.
Everybody wanted to get the vaccine. Everybody wanted a vaccine. Everybody wanted a safe and effective vaccine. Everybody wanted science to come up with something as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. But when I was president, everyone didn't want to die of a rapidly spreading disease.
There was a rush to get it. You didn't hear anything about mandates. You didn't hear anything about, people don't want to take it.
Well, that's because all the people that were in line to get it right away were largely Democrats who wanted to survive this.
Left, people don't want to take it. And it's very interesting. And I think it's because they don't trust Biden. They don't trust the administration. As you know...
you don't think it's misinformation about the vaccines?
Vice President Harris made some very nasty comments, and I think maybe people took that
Nasty. Because she's a woman, right? Remember the word nasty, only associated with women, right?
What you said. But, I think they hurt the vaccine. Now they're trying to get everybody to take it. But I will say, and I think you'll agree, when I was president, there was a rush to get it. Everybody wanted to get it. It was only after that you started to hear this.
Let's shift to the political landscape.
Yeah, but that's because the people rushing to get it were all Biden voters, people who were taking it very seriously. It's one of the reasons why he didn't have rallies, why his get-togethers were very small, because people wanted to get back to life. And the people who don't want to get it right now are largely either have vaccine hesitancy because they've been bullshitted by Facebook, or their own relatives and friends, or some, long line of YouTube videos that they followed around telling them that it's, got octopus-like creatures in it. That's the newest one. Yeah, hold on. Let's see if I can find that. See if I can find it. Yeah, here you go. New Hampshire lawmaker claims COVID vaccine has contained a living organism with tentacles. Ken Whaler circulated COVID-19 conspiracy theories, a colleague said. He's said to claim that unknown octopus-like creatures are being injected into children. He sounds brilliant. New Hampshire's Governor Chris Sununu wants him to quit as head of the state's fiscal committee. Right? Are there any chance that there are octopus-like organisms in the budget? He's weird. He's a Republican. That's odd. I would have never seen that coming. That just totally caught me off guard. He means testicles? Right. Appears to support the claim made in a 52-page report emailed to other lawmakers, prompting calls for his removal as head of the Governor Sununu, blah, blah, blah. Rep. Weiler sent the fiscal committee a 52-page, quote, report, including claims that live creatures with tentacles are entering people's bodies through the COVID vaccine. Continuing disinformation on COVID is a danger to public health in New Hampshire. So she wants to censure him, I guess, on that. Do we have the document? The claims are, of course, untrue. How to tell if you have an octopus-like organism crawling through your... yeah. Yeah. So, not a Democratic problem. Just saying.
Because we're all curious, what issues are you considering that will help you decide if you're going to run for the Republican nomination to become president in 2024?
Money, 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 money.
Okay. Well, when I looked at what happened with the military in Afghanistan, that was a horrible, horrible situation. Taking the military out first began it, but it was just grossly incompetent. We lost to 13 young, incredible warriors.
Oh, good. He's back to 13. He shaved one of them off and only said 12 in the last interview. It's good. Somebody
We also have many wounded that nobody talked about, but very seriously wounded. I guess 200 and close to 250 people died. Okay, of the people in the area. 250 people died almost, and it was
it was a suicide bomber, fucko.
Leaving behind $85 billion worth of the finest military.
By the way, that number not only includes all the military gear we've given to the Afghan military, but also the training. There's no way we fly out all the training we gave them over 20 years. $85 billion over 20 years. That's what that is. It's not what's there now. It's not what's left behind. It's not what we didn't take out. Not even close. We took a bunch of shit out. We destroyed things. We scrapped things.
Equipment to the world instead of taking it out. Every single screw, bolt, every machine, every plane, every tank was going to be taken out under my tent.
Well, then you were just going to pants the Afghan military and they weren't going to survive anyways. What are you talking about?
were going to be taken out. The big hangars that you see, they were going to be taken out.
Does your administration, does your administration bear any responsibility? I mean, it was the negotiation under your administration that precipitated our withdrawal. Are you saying you would have left soldiers, you would have left the U.S. military in Afghanistan? Because you were in favor of pulling everyone out.
No, we have absolutely no responsibility. I dealt with Abdul, who's the leader, and I told him very strongly that you will be hit harder than any country has ever been hit. And he understood that. And as you know, and Biden even admitted it, for 18 months, not one soldier was shot at or killed. Not one soldier, not one American.
Yeah, but that was the deal predicated on us leaving.
And I let them know you can't do that. That was a part of the agreement. If they didn't fulfill conditions, if you know, we had 2,500 people there. We started with close to 20,000, and we were down to 2,500. And I was a big proponent of getting out. But getting out with dignity, getting out with no death, I don't think there would not have been. We had them exactly where we wanted to have them.
Yeah, totally. We got them right where we want them, which is if we leave, they take over the whole country. We have them exactly where, like, listen to the diluted bullshit from this man.
They would not have done anything to us. We would have been able to take our soldiers out, take our equipment out, but we would have taken the soldiers out last. First, all of the Americans come out, and people that deserve to come out beyond the Americans.
If this
right
were
now, we've taken out hundreds of thousands of people that most of them, only 3% at this moment, seem to deserve to come out. We don't even know who these people are.
So
well, you know, somebody could have vetted all those people through the special immigrant visa program rather than stonewalling it and making there kind of a rush where you could choose to be a purist about it or let people die, and therefore erring on the side of humanity might cause more muck-ups and trouble in the long run. You could have done all that work. You could have started that work the day you signed the May 1st deal. You knew that was going on. Nothing stopped you. Nothing at all.
Mr. Trump, when you consider what it's going to take for you to decide if you're going to run for president, this would be one of the issues.
I think a body transplant might be first, followed immediately by a brain transplant.
Curious, though.
This would be one, just a gross incompetency.
One of many issues, I would imagine, but you'd have to win the nomination again.
Well, the economy.
I'm curious, how would you?
I'll give you a couple of others.
Well,
the economy, inflation.
How would you feed? How would you? But if you faced a Republican like Ron DeSantis in the primaries, what would it take for you to beat him?
Well, number one, I don't think I will face him because I don't see that. If I did it, I don't see that. I think most people would drop out. I think he would.
Yeah, because you couldn't. You absolutely would not survive debate. I mean, they have to drop out. The reason why the Republicans who would run against Trump, why no one can primary him, is because he can't handle debate anymore. But the original trick of, giving everybody a nickname and stuff, Biden stomped all over that with the, will you just shut up, man? Nobody has to buy it anymore. Besides, the trick of being deferential while not taking his shit it'll be difficult. He can't actually look like he has any grasp of the issues in front of anybody in the Republican Party. Even their biggest dipshits have spent enough time on committee where they at least can fiddle around with the numbers and the concepts openly.
And if I faced him, I'd beat him like I would beat everyone else, frankly. And you take a look at what's going on in the polls.
You take a look at what's going on.
Where I have way over 90%, and in some cases 98% approval rating.
No, he doesn't. He gets 56% in the primary mock-ups. He's over half, and he's the biggest one, but he doesn't have 90% of anything.
Republican Party, because I did a great job as president.
No, you were absolutely terrible. Yeah, all the good that happened, you coasted on somebody else's gains. And you set us up for a complete collapse on almost every front. We started a recession in February 2020. You bullshitted your way through the first 5 months of COVID and thereby cost us innumerable unnecessary death. And you're a moron.
All of the hoaxes, despite the Russia stuff that now has been exposed as a total fraud?
No, it hasn't. He means the Durham indictment, which proves nothing even close to true.
Right, everything, we did a great job. Largest tax cuts in history, rebuilt the
No, not the largest tax cuts in history.
military, Space Force, took care of our vets, 92% approval rating in the VA for the first time ever, way higher than ever before. You know, we did a job that nobody's done, and had COVID not come and interrupted.
Yeah, it did. I was so great, except for that whole not preparing for an actual emergency and letting it fuck up the whole country and kill 500,000 Americans and blame it on China as a bioweapon, which of course means that he was the president during the biggest bioweapon attack in American history.
We had the greatest economy. Again, say what you want. We had 160 million jobs. Our country was never close to that.
It's
never close to that.
Yeah, but
Mr.
that's population related.
It's not what I want. It's just the jobs created during your administration. I think that it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics points out it was something like 6.4 million jobs, and during the Obama administration it was 7 million jobs. But when I hear what you're saying about the need for perhaps you to run in 2024, what I'm hearing you say is you are going to run. Are you?
No, I haven't said that. I said that if I do
No,
run,
I can't say that, because the minute I say that, I can't take money out of the super PAC. I've got to play footsie with running for as long as possible, so people will keep feeding the Save America PAC and just dumping fucking money into it like a bunch of rubes. And then I'll decide not to run and keep taking money out of that and make myself the Republican kingmaker.
I think that I'll do extremely well. And I'm looking not only at polls, I'm looking at the enthusiasm. We did a great job. Now, when you say what you had just said,
You know what? I got a strong ego, kids. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's a lot of reasons why Donald Davenport was, in many ways, the role I was born to play. The only difference between me and Donald Davenport is I actually have a big ego in real life. But even I, as proud as I am of the work that I've done in my life, would just not just keep saying I did a great job over and over again, unless I just didn't believe it. Unless I was just trying to, hey, everybody tried really hard. Like, if I said that, I think most of us said, we did a great job. I did a great job in that. I did a great job in that. It's kind of an apology, right? It's kind of like what you're really saying is that I did a great job with the circumstance that I had, and it wasn't that great, and it can't be my fault that it didn't actually work out the way it was supposed to. I did a great job. It's just that life is shit. Like, that's what this is. Every time he says, we did a great job, I did a great job, I was a great president, I did a great job as a president, what he's really saying is, but life kept fucking up my plan.
Economy, as you know, was
Yeah,
very
nobody
bad
talks
when
like
he
that.
took over. So the economy wasn't terrible when I took over, but it wasn't great.
Jesus Christ, look at this Oompa Loompa color. Yahoo, are you doing that on purpose? Or is that a particularly, like, I'm out of makeup, somebody get me a bag of circus peanuts, quick. Great, now I just need a lighter to caramelize it.
Stagnant and slow. I guess it was the worst recovery since the Depression of 1930.
Yeah,
So
but it was
that's
the worst recession since the Depression of 1930. So of course it's the worst recovery. It's the worst circumstance. If this is the worst flood since the worst flood ever, then the houses and the roads and the bridges and everything are going to take longer to fix because this is the worst. They've been fucked up since the worst time ever. I don't know why this is even an argument with anybody. Slowest recovery since yes, most difficult recovery. Deepest hole also since the Depression. I see this on finance channels quite a bit. Like, this was the slowest recovery. Of course it was. It's like weight loss or something like that. If you gained the most weight you've had in your entire life, and then you did it, 2/3 of it again, it's gonna take you more time to get that 2/3 extra weight off than when you lost 10 pounds in college. I don't know why this surprises anybody.
very good job done by the previous administration. But I took over an economy and I made it into 160 million jobs, and it was really getting ready to rock. We would
Yeah,
have
it was we were so getting ready to rock, except for that whole thing where I believed everything Xi Jinping was telling me because I wanted to finish my bullshit phase 1 trade deal that turned out to be a bunch of puffery. So I just ignored it and cajoled him while I was glad handing and rusty tromboning Kim Jong-un. You know, I figured I'd bounce over to Xi Jinping and you know, Putin, just kind of it's too busy glad handing with these. And then I got blindsided by this whole actual life thing. You know, like, you're like, when you're dealing with your bullshit responsibilities and patting yourself on the back for making them allegedly life-changing, and then real life hits you and you're like, oh, fuck. Real life wasn't supposed to happen.
But then, as you know, COVID came in from China.
You bring up China. A great many of our viewers here on the Yahoo Finance platform are into cryptocurrencies, and the well-known Bitcoin investor.
Oh, no. Oh, you're going into an area he knows nothing about. This is gonna be fun. This is somebody believes he. Let's hear it, shall we?
Sure. Anthony Pompliano was just on my program talking about China's crackdown on crypto. He says that's a big gain for the United States. You have a relationship with the Chinese president, Xi Jinping. What do you think Xi Jinping?
No, he does not. He does not. He didn't when he was in office. He was lied to and manipulated by Xi Jinping the same way Putin did it with him. He's a sucker for glad-handing bigwigs who he can go, oh, he likes me and he runs a place, so I must be awesome. He tries to be like dictator adjacent. He doesn't have a relationship with Xi Jinping. Are you out of your goddamn mind?
Up to? And is this crackdown on crypto good for the U.S.?
Yes, please explain. And by the way, that giant Valentine's Day card was something Trump sent him. And this is Xi Jinping going, I don't even know where I'm going to put it.
Well, I think he wants to do his own currency, whether it's crypto or otherwise. And
or otherwise? You mean like the yuan?
That we have to be very careful is we have a currency right now, the dollar.
Oh, we do. I'm sorry, what was it called again? I don't know if a lot of people know this.
We have to be very careful as we have a currency right now, the dollar. And I'm a big fan of the dollar. I'm a big fan of our currency, and I don't want to have other currencies coming out and hurting or demeaning the dollar in any way. And
yeah, I like the thing about Dogecoin, especially when it comes to the dollar, is so rude.
Looking to do, China's certainly not looking to back the dollar, but right now they're based on the dollar, and they would probably have to stay that way unless we do something very foolish in our country. I mean, the problem that I have with so much has happened, whether you look at the border, the horror.
Oh, yeah, just totally, just like yank the wheel. Like, this road is too bumpy. I'm driving on the shoulder. I'm a big fan of the dollar. Grown man on and a guest, if believe me, if he wasn't the former president, it probably happened anyways, but the producer would go like, we're not having that asshole on anymore. But the guy doesn't know shit. Why are we having him on the channel? We're fucking with our brand.
The border or the horror show of the Afghan withdrawal is our country is losing credibility. And if you look at a monetary system based on the dollar, if you start losing credibility, all of a sudden you're going to lose that strong monetary system. And we have to be very...
Oh, you mean so we should vote to raise the debt ceiling and we shouldn't fuck around with it because it messes with our monetary system? Because none of those other things you mentioned do anything about have any impact on the dollar, except for the fact that we're not pissing them away in the desert in Afghanistan at all, I suppose.
Careful about that.
Mr. Trump, there's one last question I want to ask you as we wrap, and it's because I covered your administration for the first year and a half. I was in Washington, and I remember that Steve Bannon lost your trust when he spoke to Michael Wolff for that book. And he left
and forgot to ask any questions about soap or skin regimen.
Administration. But he's re-earned your trust, and I'm curious what he did to get back into your good graces and to get your trust.
Well, Steve didn't get along with certain people in the administration, so I understand that happens, and it happens with all administrations, frankly. And for a period of time, he just didn't do it, and I understand that.
I don't understand that. What are you talking about?
But if you look at Steve over the last 3 years, he sees.
I'd rather not, actually. Over the last 3 years, it's just gotten worse.
Great job we've done as an administration. When you look at all of the things that I've enumerated, plus many
the shit that you've gone on and on and on and on about. Like, you think everything's an ad. I get it.
I mean, a thing like Right to Try, where you can get medical treatment of something.
Oh, my God. He's got a fucking list in front of him. That's what this is. He's just, it's a pitch. He's got, like, nobody, we've reached peak Rudy Giuliani with Trump's interviews now. Can you believe he was the president of the United States? No.
Experimental if you're in bad shape. If
but
you're
Mr. Bannon, he was advising you towards the end of your administration?
Excuse me?
Mr. Bannon was advising you towards the end of the administration?
No, not at all. No, I haven't spoken to Steve almost at all. No, he wasn't.
Basically, he's a Democrat. He used to get us coffee.
But I know that he's got a show that's very successful.
He says he does.
Would tell me.
So is he lying when he says he was talking to you in the last months of your administration?
Very little. We would speak very little. No, Steve and I spoke
very little. Yeah, we spoke very little, mostly on WhatsApp and usually in code.
But I will tell you, he was very supportive on his show, which is a successful show, and he was very supportive in the media as to the things. But no, we spoke very little, actually. But he was extremely supportive.
Donald Trump, the 45th president.
Gibberish. Fucking gibberish.
Of the United States. Thank you so much for joining us on Yahoo Finance.
Thank you very much, Adam.
What a waste of time. How can you talk that much and say that little? Good Lord. Well, at least, I don't know where we jump to next. Who could be peak gross and stupid? On Lindell TV, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mike Lindell and Alan Dershowitz, who apparently pays for his child porn in paintings. Here he is seen sitting in his vault. And then, of course, Mike Lindell never can leave this room except when he's sitting in the outer waiting room of his chiropractor's office where he does the rest of his streaming. Ugh. It's just gross old man day. We're just there. It's just, maybe it's because I'm sleepy, but wish us luck. See you on the other side, kids.
All
and then
guys,
we got I'm not checking it out. I don't care that I'm not buying the thing.
Car insurance.
Right.
Alan, thanks for coming on, and Brandon, take it away.
Thank you.
Yeah, Brandon, you talk to him, so I have illegal, plausible deniability.
So I have the complaint, and I've spent the last few days going through it, marking up and flagging it. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm going to ask very...
Well, good. You're marking it up and flagging it when you know fuck all about the law. I'm glad that we've got a chain of command here.
Basic questions as a private citizen would do who's not a lawyer, so we can get this down.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I just pretend to be one to Mike when I'm in his office going through his papers.
Grass level of the American people. Explain, if you would, the difference between a normal lawsuit and this, which is right at the very...
Yeah, you heard it right. Explain to us the difference between a normal lawsuit and this. Explain the difference between a normal lawsuit and this. Well, a normal lawsuit actually has to be submitted by an officer of the court and meet certain standards. This is toilet paper, actually, used toilet paper.
Beginning says this is a class action lawsuit. What does that mean?
A class action lawsuit is brought on behalf of lots of people who are similarly situated. In this case, the lawsuit is being
similarly situated. Hey, ease up on the legal mumbo jumbo.
by ordinary Americans, poll watchers, ordinary people, folks like, your friends and neighbors and relatives. And
yes, everyone in Brandon's family is in on this lawsuit because Mike is paying for it. We know that.
Many of them got threatening letters from Dominion saying, if you speak out, if you say anything, we're going to sue you. And so
no one's being threatened for speaking out. If they had evidence, they could answer this. But they don't. What he's trying to do is that this was maliciously done to scare them. If you keep trying to break into my house, I will shoot you. And then later this person goes to the court around the judicial system, files a civil lawsuit that I was threatening them with bodily injury, without ever mentioning the part that they were crawling in through my window and I gave them fair warning before I blew their brains out.
Of Dominion was to chill free speech, to prevent, to deter ordinary Americans from expressing their views. Now, look, this lawsuit is not about whether the election was fair or fraudulent or somewhere in between. Mike and I may have very different views on that ultimate issue. That's not what's at stake. What's at stake is whether the American public has the right to hear a debate about this issue. Is the right to—
Yeah, you do, but it has to be a fair debate. You can't just slander someone. There's no point in the debate where I don't get to enter in racial epithets, for example, as my debate point. I think this person should be able to live in any neighborhood they want to. Well, I would say as a counterpoint that they are insert horrible epithet here. That's not an argument. That's slander. It's hate speech in this case. But if I was going, no, but they shouldn't be able to buy that house because obviously they are, I don't know, a pedophile who hung around with Jeffrey Epstein and, got massages from underage girls. Allegedly. Now, in some people's cases, that wouldn't be slander. It would just be reality. And you could kind of prove it through things that they had said in the past and things that, were, showed up in court documents or what people had said under oath in court, for example, as evidence. But in this case, there was none of that. There was just kind of like, I read a thing on Facebook.
Here,
look at Andrea Bauer's comments. I'm sorry. What am I missing? Apparently, Facebook chat is experiencing some unusual issues with odd stream sharing notifications. I'm sorry. Facebook needs my attention. All right, I will see if there's something in here. Okay, let me check real quick, if I may. Restart. This kind of thing. Is there an issue in here? Is there just some sort of... I mean, this might be an aspect of... let me see if I can get this in here. Live dashboard. Let's go in here. Live producer. There we go. Let me check in here and see what's going on. I beg your pardon. I'll see if we can fix this. Hi, Paul. Hi, everybody. Let's see. I'm scrolling down. Something abnormal. Let's see. Yeah, it's a Facebook issue. Let's see. What is it? What are you guys seeing that it's doing? Because I'm not cross-posting to pages or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, thanks for everybody who's sharing the stream on their pages. I appreciate that. Thanks, Janie. No issue there. Okay. No issue in Facebook Australia. I'm glad to hear it. It's fine? Okay, good. All right. I think that I don't trust that anything that's going on as far as Facebook chats and lives and all that kind of stuff will be anything I will have any control over per se. Simply because there's too many moving parts and Facebook is having its own problems. So fingers crossed, we'll be all right. Getting many likes to a video I shared and doesn't exist. Huh. Yeah, that might be something on there. I've received 165 notifications that I shared your stream. Yipes. I'm sorry, Cindy. You're on a shared stream. Yeah. Yeah, that I don't even have turned on. So that's just a factor of Facebook. As far as I know. So we'll continue. Keep me posted if it gets worse.
Various news media outlets and from various people what their views are so they can decide for themselves. But what happened is because these chilling letters went out, people are afraid to talk. Nobody wants to get sued.
Well, then don't libel someone. Don't libel a company with no evidence. Don't say things like they're Venezuelan-owned and Chinese, agents are making Americans in the country like Eric Coomer commit fraud and treason, and they're treasonous and they have to be stopped and they have to be killed. That's why. Nobody's stopping you from saying I don't trust electronic voting machines in general. You could say that, right? It's when you accuse human beings of crimes that you get into tough areas. And when you accuse an entire company of being engaged in treasonous behavior, when the entire bottom line of their company has to do with the trustworthiness of the product, and you have no evidence, you're asserting that you do. These are all people the people who got letters asserted that they knew these things, which they did not know. As opposed to, I've heard. Nobody said, I heard Dominion was was owned by some, the ghost of Hugo Chavez. Nobody who said, I've heard, got a letter. Nobody heard, I think it's bad that I think it. And nobody got a letter for thinking. Nobody got a letter for hearing. Nobody got a letter for saying Rudy Giuliani says, bah. What they get a letter for is Eric Coomer is a terrorist and works for the Chinese government, and he's a traitor, and he's trying to destroy our country, and he needs to be stopped. And that's because he's protecting Dominion because they absolutely, have panda shit in their ballot copies. That's the difference. There's a lot of room to wiggle in all this stuff, and none of them got letters if they said I think or I perceive or I wonder if or I'm just asking questions.
Well, not only ordinary people are afraid to talk, but various networks are afraid to put this issue on the network because they...
No, they're not. It wasn't the issue. It wasn't talking about the issue. It wasn't talking about the debate between it. It was asserting it or having people on that were asserting it repeatedly, giving the impression to the viewer that was the opinion of the network because there was no counterpoint being brought on. There was no debate happening. Nobody was pushing back on Lindell's claims on Newsmax or OAN.
The next day, they're going to get a lawsuit, which will cost them an enormous amount of money and time.
Well, imagine what happens if they're successful lying about the company and they go out of business. What's it going to cost that business if they just let this bullshit slide? They didn't sue him. They gave him a warning.
Effort from Dominion. And let's understand one important thing. Dominion is the government. Dominion is not just a private firm. The United States government and
they're a private contractor, and they will lose their contract if they lose the faith of the American people. And if the faith of the American people is undermined, perhaps by, I don't know, people allied with the ES&S machines, for example, and they want a monopoly on all of it because they lean Republican in the states that they show up in the most, perhaps there's a reason why they are not the government. This is bullshit beyond measure. This is like saying Boeing is the government.
Various states delegated to Dominion the power that the government has to count votes under the Constitution.
Bullshit. No, they don't. No, they do not. The state certifies that count and verifies that count. They are not the government. And there is, and under the law, and I don't know why anyone would have to explain this to Captain Underpants here, but under the law, no government contractor is seen as the government. It's one of the ways you firewall yourself against culpability in a lot of things.
And when the Constitution was originally framed, it was the government that counted the votes.
So what? It was also buggies that carried the senators to and from the White House and the Capitol. Who cares? It was the 1700s.
Government was the one who tabulated and decided who was the winner.
And they still do. They do tabulate and decide who is the winner. They have contractors that do it, and they verify it, and then they have to certify it. So they have to go through the count and check it. And if if there needs to be a recount, or anybody thinks there's an issue with it, they do that recount. But that's the state. It's still in the hands of the state.
Things have gotten so complicated that the government has delegated to, in this case, Dominion and their voting machines, the power to determine the outcome of an election. So when Dominion threatens, it's like you get a letter from the Justice Department.
No, it isn't. No, it is not, because they're not suing you because they're going to lose the Justice Department. They're suing because they're going to lose their contract with the state electoral system. This is a state-employed company. The state picks which machine, not the federal government. This is the worst legal turd polishing I've seen in a long time.
Or from the state attorney general saying, if you dare to speak out, you will be sued. This is
bullshit. Define speak out as you understand it, because libel does not qualify as speaking out.
Government chilling free speech.
Bullshit.
The First Amendment. And that
bullshit.
Although I have different views about the outcome, I'm a liberal Democrat. I voted for Joe Biden. I voted for Hillary Clinton. Why I have different views.
Bullshit.
On the outcome of the election, we stand together. People say the First Amendment makes strange bedfellows.
I wouldn't use that phrase if I was you.
You may support
1,000 people in the chat. Welcome and thank you. And don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, even if you hate the show. Don't forget, we welcome our trolls here. They help spread the show around. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook and everything's fine, I hope it is, don't forget you can give stars to support the show. That really helps out. It's a little thing down in the chat thing. You can support the show with stars. It's a lovely, lovely thing, and I appreciate it. And then, of course, Twitch bits and subscriptions.
Amendment with people who you have completely opposite views from. And that's the strength of the First Amendment. It doesn't choose between views. It says every view has to be heard. And
No, it does not. It does not say every view has got to be heard. It says every view has the opportunity to be heard. It doesn't mean it's got to be heard. Do you have the right to swear and use racial epithets in your own home? Absolutely. Do you have the right to scream it at a stranger in the mall? No, it's disturbing the peace. Fuck off.
I support this lawsuit.
And
I want
to. Of course you support it, asshole. Lindell's paying for it. It's a money grab.
Before you get into, I want to ask one question here.
Here comes the good stuff. Yeah, let's get to the meat of the matter. Come on, let's something sweet.
When you talked about networks that are also afraid to get sued, most of the networks that would even say anything have already been sued, like your Fox. I call it now. I got T-shirts that'll say, "Now don't go Fox on me." That means go silent on me.
Oh, is that what it means? Okay, because it's very important that people buy the shirts and know exactly what they mean. I was very confused. Thanks very much. I think is that stars making a noise? and people giving stars. I appreciate it. I think so. That little gleam. It sounds like Donkey Kong because I'm not, or Mario because I'm not seeing a little graphic. So perhaps I'm curious. It's interesting.
They don't talk about it. My question to you is, if you being an attorney, Fox has already been sued. So wouldn't it be to their benefit to want to talk about the issues out there because they got...
No, they're in the lawsuit now, fucko. They weren't sued. They were warned, and to not be sued fully, they would have to make some changes and admit they were lying and play a little mea culpa video.
They've got sued using lawfare against them, and if they're... You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense that...
That's because you're dumb, Mike. It doesn't make sense because you're dumb. It's not because the whole thing is confusing. It's because you're easily confused. I think it might be one of Jesus's thorns is stuck in your head. It might be that.
That they're not talking because they've already been sued, or are they in fear of being more sued?
More sued, for another $1 billion.
They are in fear of being more sued. I know.
He's the finest legal minds. They're in fear of being more sued. Fucking hell.
I was a victim of this myself in a different context. I was sued for defaming a woman who claimed she had sex with me. I never met the woman, never heard of the woman.
Right.
And she claims that every time I call her a liar, and I will go on the show and call her a liar, she's a serial liar, she adds to her lawsuit. And
I got you.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Every time I deny my guilt and prove that she's lying, every time I say it, it's a different count, a different element. And so that's what Fox is afraid of. And that's what other networks are afraid of, that they'll be sued more and more damages. And so they take often the coward's way out, or the stock.
They commit suicide? What?
His way out. They have to worry about their shareholders if they're public.
Well, and these when you guys get into it here, I want everyone to know these are very brave people that are stepping out now, but they were very afraid for a long time here because and now they're stepping it out, being the plaintiffs. But so go ahead, Brandon. I just wanted to clear that with.
You cleared that up. That was so much better. I mean, I had some questions about the whole thing, but now my questions are completely overwhelmed by other questions.
Ask you this. Basically, what I'm hearing is this is a...
And as Dershowitz started talking about that, you notice his right eye started to twitch.
Amendment issue, the right to free speech, to state your belief, your opinion, or the facts of what you saw, as was the case with poll workers. I understand that some of the poll workers in their public comments never even mentioned the word dominion, correct?
Right. That's right. And they're being sued kind of preventively. They're being told, don't you dare to mention dominion. And they're also being told, don't you dare talk about this, because we might sue you, saying inferentially, if you say that there are problems with the election, it must be the Dominion being at fault because they were the ones who conducted the election. So, these letters are so broad. They're written by lawyers, tough lawyers. I don't blame the lawyers. They're doing their job. Their job is lawfare, trying to prevent free speech.
Is that their job? Is that what they're trying to do? Are they trying to prevent free speech, or are they trying to stop a slander army run by the Giuliani, Ben and Lindell triablet, and keep it from capsizing their entire company?
Threatening and intimidation, but we're fighting back, and I'm hopefully helping. I'm just a consultant on the case. I'm of counsel on the First Amendment issues, but I'm proud to be working on this case because I have defended the First Amendment for the last 55 years of my life. I've defended it for everybody, right, left, center, good
Matt
people,
Gaetz. Okay.
not so good people. I always defend the First Amendment and free speech. That's my passion, and I don't care.
And that's where the money is.
about partisanism. I don't care Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. I care that everybody gets to have their voices heard in the United States of America.
Yeah, as long as they're not a Weinstein or a Epstein victim. On the other, other than that, everybody has their say, except for that liar who keeps telling people that I sexually assaulted her. That woman deserves, right? That's where you're going.
So,
yeah, Alan, does it? Alan, I'm sorry, I'm going to say again, Alan, does it scare you right now?
Maybe he's not eye twitching because of that case against him with the woman. Maybe it's just every time Lindell talks, his eye starts to twitch, which makes sense. It's the most human thing about him.
Country, because of this lawfare that you told me once hadn't been used in this magnitude since 1798. I mean, aren't we in a very scary times right now? With the cancellation of people, their First Amendment rights of free speech, where you can't go on this station, this channel, this social media platform. Is that?
Hi, stupid. Do you mind, Alan, if I may? I promise to leave my underwear on. You do not have the right to anyone else's microphone. You do not have, there's no way that you are guaranteed in the Constitution that a show or a social media network has to give you a spot. And the legal implications of if the Constitution said that every time there was a Twitter, every citizen had a right to it, to be on there and say whatever the fuck they wanted to say. The nightmare that this would unfold across all media would be ridiculous. First of all, cable news would need 6,000 separate channels just for their news programs because you'd have to have everybody's perspective all the time. This is goofy. Hal Sparks, the only poll workers these guys know are at the strip club. I don't even think they know them. I think that's terrible. I think they don't care to know them. I think it's important that you know some, I suppose, if you go there regularly. But
you feel like all your hard work over 50 years, fighting for it, went down the drain in 1 year?
No, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. The American people love freedom of speech. Yeah. Historically, we've had setbacks. The Alien and Sedition Act in the last 2 years of the 18th century. Then McCarthyism. When I was growing up, we had McCarthyism from...
citation needed. You never grew up.
Right. Now we have left-wing McCarthyism. In the end, the First Amendment will prevail because you can't have a democracy without freedom of speech. But cancel culture has diminished freedom of speech.
No, it hasn't. You're just losing outlets. You're not losing your ability to have speech. This is fundamental. This is just garbage. This is garbage. It'd be one thing if it was just kind of this insidious, like he found a way around it. There's this interesting thing because his legal theory led you to kind of understand that he could actually make some victories here. None of this it's so lazy.
America, I've been canceled. I can't speak at American universities today because if I try to speak, they hold up banners saying he defended Trump. He defended Trump in front of the Senate.
Is that what they say? Is that what the signs say? Or do they say, who killed Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, hashtags? Do they have pictures of the girl from the Epstein case that says she was assigned to you? Because I think that's more the problem.
Trump, we don't want him to speak. And so people have stopped me from speaking. I've been canceled at places that I've spoken at for years. I fight back, but I've been sued also. And so we have to support ordinary...
And for the record, those places you're talking about have free speech, and they are not required to let you speak there. There is nothing in their rules or the Constitution itself that says that those universities have to keep giving you a spot because they gave you a spot in the past. And, sure, they found out new information that you're a fucking scumbag, allegedly, but they're not allowed to factor that in?
Americans, whether we agree with them or not, if they express their views and they're being chilled and stopped. The Supreme Court has used the word chilled over and over again. Justice Brennan, the great
Level 2 hype train. Thanks, guys.
liberal on the Supreme Court, kept talking about how you must have breathing room for the First Amendment. You can't chill the First Amendment. And the government can't delegate to Dominion certain powers, the power to count the ballots, and then say, hey, we're just a private company. You can't sue us because we have the right to express our First Amendment rights. Well, they may have the right.
What? That's your understanding of the case? Hang on. The fuck was that?
And the government can't delegate to Dominion certain powers, the power to count the ballots, and then say, hey, we're just a private company. You can't sue us because we have the right to express our First Amendment rights. Well, they may have the right to express their First Amendment rights, but not in a way that intimidates others and prevents others from expressing theirs. We have to have.
That's not what this is at all. They're suing people for slander and libel.
Free speech for everybody. Let Dominion speak. Let people who criticize Dominion speak. Let the American public decide for itself. We're smart enough and we're thoughtful enough and we care enough to make the decision ourselves.
But as this
bullshit, which I think, if anything, let's see. Let's just look up Facebook misinformation. Let's see. No, we're really fucking not. Especially when the information is presented to us in such a way that it, let's see if I can make this a little bigger. Especially when that information is presented to us as part of an even argument, an even debate, when it is absolutely not. Ahead of the 2020 election, Facebook implemented safeguards to protect against the spread of misinformation by prioritizing safety over growth and engagement. It rolled back these defenses after the election. On election day, the night of, allowing right-wing conspiratorial content to fester in the weeks leading up to the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol, according to a whistleblower. No. And when we're sorting through stuff, we should be able to know the difference between stuff that is information that might be shocking, information that might be unbelievable at first, but after continually looking into it, it turns into there's really a there. The difference between that and actionable slander mixed in with it. And one of the ways you protect against that is that companies and individuals have the ability to sue people if they're lying about them egregiously in a way that will affect their bottom line or their life or their security or their safety. That's part of your Facebook right as well. And you can't just bum rush people because, again, it's like the trespassing rules. If you weren't aware that you were trespassing, you won't get charged with trespassing. But if there's signs all over the fucking place, or you receive a letter, step on one foot on the property and somebody hands you a letter. Excuse me, this is for you. This is a letter that was just letting you know you're trespassing, and if you keep trespassing, we're going to shoot you. Right? That's the increasingly, that fits within the legal rules. That's how it works. And that's what Dominion did. They didn't sue people out of the blue, drop a $1.3 billion lawsuit on everyone. They simply, warned people like they were supposed to. Like the law says they have to.
Complaint says, and we are...
Hold on, I got to jump back to this nonsense. Where are we? Here? No. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. Hold on.
Mentioned many of these people that got threatening letters, intimidation, they never even, they're not public figures, many of them.
Right.
B, they were just reporting.
Or they run giant Facebook groups. And by the way, what does not public figure mean?
They personally saw as poll watchers or voters. And C, they didn't mention Dominion. But yet they're getting a threatening letter saying if they talk about election fraud, you could be sued. And we want you now to preserve all of your communications. And we want you to acknowledge receipt of the letter and that you're going to preserve all communications.
And basically, lawyer. Basically, you have to get a lawyer. How do you preserve all your communications? How do you know which communications are privileged and which aren't? But let's remember another
But how does
thing.
this? How is it?
William, I would have recommended. I sharp my stool for a second. I would then say maybe don't wade into the defamation, libel, and slander stream so wantonly, because the current might sweep you away.
Intimidation. How is this not blackmail? Is what I'd like to know.
Well, you can't blackmail someone unless you have something on them, fucko. Right? You can't blackmail someone with nothing. If you do not do what I say, I'm going to release these pictures of you from Aruba canoodling with someone who is not your significant other. I've never been to Aruba. Not my point.
Intimidation. The blackmail is, has a very particular definition, but it isn't.
Yeah, Brandon, you're stupid. You wouldn't know this.
Intimidation. Let's remember another thing that's very important for these poll watchers. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation.
Well, then that's what.
And that is if they're just.
That's the problem they have, Alan. You're right. Truth would be an absolute protection. Unfortunately, it is not on their side.
Honestly, reporting what they saw.
No. Not what they saw. What they thought they saw. A huge difference. And you know the legal difference, Alan. What you saw versus what you thought you saw. Your Honor, I believed I saw what I thought was fraudulent or treasonous behavior. What'd you see? I saw a man lift a cardboard box. What was in the box? I believe it was ballots full of panda shit from China. Do you have any way of knowing that? No, but I believe it enough so that I will tell people that it is not a belief, but indeed something I truly know as a fact.
It's truthful. They cannot be successfully sued. The problem is
none of these people are being truthful.
Even if they'll win 6 months from now or a year from now, they could be bankrupted. They could lose their jobs as the result of this. And so,
well, no, because they could countersue for damages, and because the company's big enough and the attempted award was so big, the court very well may give them a very large payout.
It's very important that we who care about the First Amendment stand behind them and support them, and not to have them
stand right behind them where their wallet is
out there by themselves, and not being able to afford to get a lawyer, not be able to afford to have a judgment against them.
They don't need one. All they have to do is not mention Dominion and not lie about the election. Again, all you got to say is, I believe, I thought, I believe, I believed, I saw, I thought I saw, this is what I thought, I perceived this is what was going on, I perceived, I thought, and you're in the clear. But the minute you say, I saw this happen and it's not what happened, then you're in trouble, especially when you're laying at the feet of someone else's.
Lose their jobs. That's why it's very important that anybody who cares about the First Amendment, the ACLU should be in this case.
Yeah, they're not. Wonder why. I'll tell you why. Because they know it's a loser.
Organization should be in this case. But unfortunately, too many organizations support either only the left or the right. If you believe in the First Amendment, you can't have left or right. You have to believe in the First Amendment for all. It can never be free.
Or you've had these special cases, Alan, where there's like a guy who pretends to like the left and actually works for the right and has done that for the majority of his career. And that's how he manages to squeak around the big cases.
For me, but not for thee. It has to be free speech for all.
Can the Pentagon, the FBI, NSA, CIA, can any of those groups sue me because I write a book or give a speech or produce a documentary or do a TV radio show against them and say negative things about them?
No.
Can they, as a government agency, sue me for that?
Generally not. They generally can't. The only time they can sue is I was involved in a case involving a man named Frank Snepp, who was in the CIA, and he watched the removal from Saigon. He wrote a book and they sued him because he had signed a contract with the CIA saying that he wouldn't write a book without certain approvals. So unless you're an employee of the government.
So, and again, not a free speech lawsuit, a contract dispute, yawn.
Government generally can't sue you for defamation. I mean, if you go back to the debates between Jefferson, Burr, and Adams, 1800, they were calling each
Jesus Christ.
other the worst names in the world. They were attacking each other, but they all believed in the First Amendment, so they didn't sue each other. They waited to see who won the election.
And since everybody's lying, nobody's lying. Gee, and then we had to come in with these stupid libel and slander laws. Nonsense.
That's the way it should be. Nobody should be suing anybody the government shouldn't be suing anybody, certainly.
So the reason I asked that
they're
question,
not. The government isn't suing anyone. Dominion is suing people for lying about them in a way that is causing damage to their business. This is not even difficult.
because if in general practice the government cannot sue me for speaking out about them, and Dominion is basically a government utility, is it not? Therefore, how do they have the right to sue?
They don't. I don't think they do. I think
that's because you're an idiot. Of course they do, because they're going to lose their contract, fucko. That's not a guaranteed contract. There are other companies. They are in competition with other companies. And for some reason, Mike Lindell has singled them out for God knows why and accused them, even though Trump won 56% of the counties that had Dominican machines. He's chosen them as the primary target and lied about them repeatedly.
they should be treated like the government. And
they should not. Because they will lose their contract to ES&S or to another entity. You will not sue the secondary vote counting companies out of existence in general by attacking Dominion.
Generally can't sue for defamation. And when Dominion took the job, it undertook to act as the government with its responsibilities. And those
No, it didn't. It answers to the government. It can't override the government. The Dominion can't say, well, like the government does a recount. And this is so fucking dumb. Like this is, I don't even know where he thinks that. Is he just used to talking to Mike Lindell, who's incredibly fucking stupid, and it's this easy to talk Mike's wallet out of his jacket? If Dominion itself, back up. Let me re-enter this because I want to clarify. Where's the cursor? There it is.
Treated like the government. And the government generally can't sue for defamation. And when Dominion took the job, it undertook to act as the government with its responsibilities. And those...
No, it doesn't. The responsibility lies solely on the government. And if there is any question in the counting, the one who fixes it is the government. They do a hand recount with people appointed by the Electoral Commission or by the Secretary of State, volunteers and whomever they gather together that are wholly separate from the company. They'll bring the company back in to do another recount or an automatic recount. They can do a digital recount and ask for it again just to clarify, but the company's not responsible for the ultimate vote. The responsibility still and always lies with the government. The state government has a responsibility under the Constitution to pass along the legitimate and true results of the election, which is, by the way, the root of how the lawsuits against all these, we're going to pick a different set of electors bullshit lawsuits will go. The methodology is wholly the responsibility of Dominion, how they do it and the mechanics for doing it. But the responsibility for having it done and getting it done is always and will always be, has always been and will always be in the hands of the state and the federal government. This is just fucking nonsense. It's moronic. No one believes this. No one. No one gets to point it like if there's a recount. We need a recount. I don't know. Call fucking Dominion. It's their job now. Nobody who says that. It's not. This is not even close to a reality in any sense. It must be the largest block of Lindell viewers tonight. Probably. But again, we have a responsibility to mock all this bullshit brutally and not allow it to be taken seriously anywhere. Don't let it gets so much of this shit is allowed to like slide by. They pick one dumb thing out of it and kind of, well, that's right. And there's this gish gallop of horse shit continues every goddamn day.
Responsibilities include developing a thick skin. If you don't like what people are saying about you, answer them, respond to them, take ads out, write op-eds, do what I do. I respond to all kinds of defamation, mostly by simply telling the truth.
Okay, but when you do threaten a countersuit, what are the stages? You write a letter first. Fucking hell.
Okay, I want to say something there, Alan. So,
oh God, the big guns. Here, yeah, okay. Just when you thought things couldn't get any dumber.
Take my case.
Please.
In defamation, you have to knowingly be telling an untruth to defame someone. I've been going, okay, I have the truth, or what you'd say if we disagree on the truth. You haven't seen the truth that I have. So I have the truth, and I'm out there speaking the truth about them. And to me, it's like, have you ever seen with this? It just baffles my mind that you would have hundreds of lawsuits and threatening letters.
Hi, Mike, you don't have the truth. You have files other people have told you are things because they're grifting you, and you have decided to run with them before you verified any of it. You have been lying since day one. You've been lying about this shit since the election night. Enough with the January 9th horse shit. You were in the White House and around the White House about this shit ongoing throughout that time.
What would be the logic behind that?
Did he say babbles my mind?
With this, it just baffles my mind that you would have.
I think he said baffles in an attempt to say baffles. When the word is boggles, it boggles my mind. It boggles the mind. It's a great old phrase. I mean, it's very 1920s. My lord, that boggles my mind. The great boggling of 1921. It babbles, baffles, and baffles somewhere in there.
Hundreds of lawsuits and threatening letters. What would be the logic behind that? The cost associated with it. I always say like my pillows. If someone was out there with my pillows,
if they had rocks and shit in them, why I just show them that it wasn't the rock? That it's a dumb accusation. Here's an analogy. This is going to be the same shit, and it's going to be rocks and knives.
Said, hey, Mike Lindell's got rocks and knives in his pillow.
Fucking hell, this stupid argument. Okay, Mike, your patented fill. That's your secret recipe. Let's say you were keeping the patented fill a secret so that other people wouldn't steal it and copy your product. And I come out and I say the secret to Mike Lindell's patented fill is lead. And I have documents that I believe prove it. And I hold up paper everywhere I go and I say this paper shows that Mike Lindell's pillows have lead in them, and a significant amount, and people are sleeping on these pillows, and they're getting lead in their system, and their children are exposed to this lead, and if this gets around, there's going to be so much brain damage that we're not going to have a country left. There's so much lead exposure from these pillows. Where'd you get the information? I have somebody, people gave me this information, and I've been talking about it, and I have proof that it's this paper says it. And I got it from somebody, but where I got it from, I believe it to be real. And Mike Lindell has lead in his patented fill. And the only way he can prove that it doesn't is he needs to let me and my team, who also happens to have my thumb on the scale of making money in the pillow. I'm from the other side of the pillow politics argument. I got my own line of pillows I would rather have in the White House. And I want my team to be able to look at the chemical makeup of his secret proprietary patented fill. Not rocks and knives. I want to know your industrial secrets. Now, I'm not going to tell. By the way, I have specialists who are going to come in when you give us access to the lab where you dream up your secret sauce for your pillows. Follow me on this. I know I'm losing you. And I'm going to bring in my own guys. I'm not going to tell you who they are. And just know that they are experts. Okay? And as soon as we get in there, we're going to need, about a month and $1 million paid by the state to do this, because I'm not going to pay for this and you're not going to pay for this. The state's going to pay for us to look at your pillow patented fill. And also, I'm going to take a hard drive with the chemical components of your patented fill when we find out there's no lead in it, and send it up to my buddy's lab in Montana, which is really just his fucking farm, so we can just copy it and sell it to the Chinese. Now, why wouldn't you just come out and say, yes, Mike? Why wouldn't you admit that there's lead in your pillows? Or if there's no lead in there, why don't you just show us your proprietary, the content, the special sauce that's in your proprietary patented fill?
You know what I would do?
Sure.
I would say, hey, look inside my pillows. There's nothing to hide.
Sure.
And
No. Here's another one, Mike. How about this? I say that Mike Lindell's factories are child labor. It's all child labor. He's got his fake factory in Minneapolis, but he really ships it in through other sources. He's got trucks pulling in all the time. I think they're full of pillows when they arrive. It's just for show. And he makes all of them in these, like, in Guatemala with child labor, and a lot of it's made in China, and he just ships it over and changes the tags. And I have no evidence to back that up, but I go everywhere and say it. And I start a whisper campaign. I hire groups to talk about it online. I build fake Facebook anti-My Pillow groups that go out and go, he uses child labor, just over and over. And I keep that up. And it starts to impact your bottom line. People stop buying the pillows. They start to believe it. They go, between the lead that I've heard about, did you hear there's lead in his pillows? And the child labor, why would anybody buy a My Pillow? I mean, it's just not Christian, right? What are you going to do? After the impact is big enough where it's going to actually mess with your bottom line, you're going to sue me. But before you sue me, because of how the law works, you're going to have to write me a letter first.
so now this, you don't have to answer if you don't want, but you being, what you believes because you haven't seen anything or don't know, or we haven't sat down. I've never sat down and said, here's what I have. And in fact,
yeah, they know they're the actual company. They know what their shit does. They don't give a fuck what like well-leafed copy of the Wizard of Oz you have with notes in it that says this is really just code for the scheme to defraud the election using Dominion machines. They know you're a lunatic. They know their machines have been checked out. They know they did all the work. They know what their code looks like. They know what you are saying you have is bullshit because there's no way it could work. They don't need to know what you have because they know it's nonsense. None of it makes any sense at all. None of it is possible. They don't have to know. But you don't get to know their proprietary software and release it to the fucking world because you're untrustworthy, because some sap sold you some evidence on, online and you Venmo'd him $1 million. Goon.
Very few people I have, but if in your mind, isn't it curious that if they have nothing to hide, why didn't they just come out right away and say, hey, what are you talking about? Look at our stuff. It's beautiful.
Our machines, but now they're trying to suppress the machines, say we can't look at it. It's covered by business privileges.
Right.
Look.
Yes, right. It's covered by business privileges. There are other contractors that use different code. Why do you think everybody flipped out about Twitch's internal code getting out? Because there are things that it does right that YouTube hasn't figured out as far as how it posts stuff, how it stores versus broadcast video, the algorithms that they use, it's all proprietary. It helps their business model. And if it gets out, then not only can hackers break in and ruin it, but everybody else can also go, oh, all right, well, we'll just BitChute, the right-wing racist network, will go, why don't we just build ours on the structure here? We just take out all the fucking icons that make it Twitch and just make BitChute look like Twitch now. We got the code. Just steal it. That's why, fucko. This is,
Very courageously on, what was it, the Jimmy Kimmel show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, he disagreed with you completely. But at the end, he said, the one thing I know is that Mike Lindell believes what he's saying. And
Yes.
that's his way of saying Mike Lindell is a deluded asshole. He met you and went, wow, this guy's a moron.
And if you believe what you're saying, that's the end of the inquiry. You
Right.
can't be sued if you have an honest, reasonable belief in what you're saying is true, and it's about an issue of public interest. The same.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because he's not being sued because he thinks it or he believes it or he talks about it or he's been yapping at the end of the bar about it. It's because he's been buying ads and doing all this stuff all over the country and attacking this company when he has not fully vetted the information he says he has fully vetted, because he's not getting sued for saying Dominion's hooked up to Venezuela. He's getting sued because he says he has evidence that Dominion is hooked up to Venezuela and the internet and all that shit. He's saying he's seen the evidence. He knows he has the evidence, which he does not know, and he has not checked. He's lying about it. In the same way that Rudy Giuliani was saying that he got his information from Facebook, but he didn't vet it. But as far as everybody else was concerned, it sounded like he was talking about information he got directly from the Secretary of State's office, and it turns out to just be bullshit in a Facebook group. He was presenting evidence that he had received and had not vetted as if he had vetted, and you should take it for granted that he has vetted it, and he's making that assertion. That's what he's busted for. Lindell could walk around saying, I truly believe the Dominion stole the election for Donald Trump. Nobody give a shit. But what he's saying is, I have material evidence that I have checked out, and that checks out, and that is so certain that the Supreme Court will believe it. And I've seen it with my own eyes, when he absolutely has not. Now, his only defense is he's a moron.
Of the poll watchers, if they believe it, if it's true, if they have reasonable belief, they can't be sued. And Dominion knows that.
Sure they can. They can be sued for saying it's true when they have no actual evidence that it's true. If they give the appearance to people that it is. I think I saw, like if I go, I think what I saw was this. Now, there's no way to know for sure, but I'm pretty sure those boxes had ballots in them, and I think that taco truck was bullshit. Nobody gets in trouble for talking like that. But they do get in trouble for, I was standing right there. They showed up with ballots. That truck wasn't. That's totally different than something that's based on a fervent belief, because they didn't check and they're lying. They know they are lying. They might believe that the ballots were in the boxes, but they didn't see those ballots and they don't know it for sure, but they're presenting it as for sure to the people that they're talking to as if they did. They are misrepresenting what they saw and what they know. That's the defamation and libel part of it. They can believe those boxes were full of ballots, but unless they saw them, they can't say those boxes had ballots in them. They can say, I believe they were bringing in ballots in those boxes. I saw those ballots come in, and then magically a bunch of other ballots showed up in these things. Hold on. Excuse me. That's 3 sneezes in a row. It's good. He's full of shit. This is a lie. They're going to lose.
In fact, that's a very interesting point, because I have, all of us that are in the public arena have things written about us. And I've called, an attorney a few years ago about some horrible stuff written online about me that's not true.
Like what?
Said to him, hey, these people can't say this, can they? And this guy, being an attorney and expert in defamation and libel, says, well, reality is they believe it to be true. As long as they get on the stand and say, yep, I believe that to be true, they're going to have cover. So you're telling me that when public people...
Yeah, no. There's a huge difference here. if you go up and say, I have a picture of Brandon House choking puppies by the riverbank, and you walk up and you have a picture of someone who looks vaguely like Brandon House choking a puppy by the riverbank, and you say, this is him, and I believe this was him, you might have an argument there. But if you go, I have pictures of Brandon House in that envelope choking puppies by the riverbank, and I've had them this whole time. Somebody told me that's what's in this envelope, and I know it's true. And you go around doing that, and you didn't bother to check, but you've told people you've seen the pictures. I have pictures of Brandon House choking puppies by the riverbank. If you say you have those pictures and you never looked in that envelope, for fear that you might find out that those are indeed not pictures of that very thing. You did not look, but you are presenting to people that you did look. That's the lie. That's what you're getting sued for, not the content of saying Brandon House chokes puppies by the riverbank, which of course we all know to be true. We know that's his favorite hobby. We know that, there's nothing he likes better.
What?
As a good afternoon down by the lake, choking puppies and chucking them into the tide. Obviously, this is the difference. All of these people are asserting, Mike Lindell in particular, are asserting that they know these things to be true because they've seen evidence, and they have presented to other people that they have seen evidence. The lie is not even their perception about what the evidence means. The lie is that they've seen evidence when they have not.
Even private people, as these poll watchers go out and speak things, as long as they believe it to be true, there's nothing actionable.
No, they can believe that Dominion stole the election and say that all they want to. The minute they say, I saw this with my own eyes, I saw that happen, when they have no evidence to prove that's what they actually saw. So they're offering themselves up as eyewitnesses to something, and they are willfully and knowingly lying about how much information they had. That's what they're getting sued for.
That's right. But the problem is a threat is enough, because there's always a risk a jury will say, no, he doesn't believe it. That's why they're intimidating. They're threatening.
Well, no, they can go, no, I don't give a shit if he believes it or not. He doesn't see what he says he saw. He's lying about what he said he saw. This has nothing to do with what he believes about Dominion or Venezuelans or the ghost of Hugo Chavez or fucking China and panda shit ballots. Has nothing to do with that legally. Dominion, call me. I don't know why. This is so fucking easy.
They know they can't win these lawsuits, and their lawyers...
Yes, they can. Because it's not that the people are lying about believing that they saw cheating. It's the fact that they're lying about what they physically saw.
Understand that if they send out these letters, and they've succeeded, not with these people because they're brave, but with some others who know things...
They're not brave. They're fucking lunatics who have been led around by the nose by assholes like this. They're going to end up with their cheese in the wind. This is fucked.
Have refused to speak out, and the debate has been somewhat one-sided as the result of that. And who is the victim? The American public.
Yeah, I feel victimized by the whole thing.
So what are you asking for? What are you asking for in your class action lawsuit? What are you seeking?
Besides some potassium and vitamin B to stop my Herbert Lom eye twitch that comes up every time Mike Lindell starts talking and you bring up the girl who's accused me of sexually assaulting her. I'm cracking up. I've only had a chicken leg and some clear broth since Wednesday. I'm losing my mind. Clouseau, someone was killing him.
And if this case is decided in your direction, what happens?
Well, we want damages, and damages to...
Yeah, damages. Yeah, pay us back our feelings for being scared, for being sued, for being liars.
Prevent future efforts by Dominion and others like Dominion to stop the debates. We have to make sure that debates continue unabated, and whatever remedies the courts want to fashion is okay, as long as the goal is the same. The goal is to permit people to have their say and not to allow a big company that is acting as the government to shut people down.
Well, that's not what's happening at all. This is ridiculous. Dismissed. And I can't. If whoever is pushing back against this, and I have to believe Dominion has smarter lawyers than this, but the judge himself should go, this is not a free speech, this is an anti-slander thing. Do your clients have material evidence to back up their claims as they say they do? No. Bye.
Don't agree with what they're saying. Invent a better mousetrap. Come up with a better argument. Come up with more.
They did. We're suing you for libel. That was a better argument. Let's see. I could pretend you actually are making sense, or I could just call your bluff, you lying piece of shit.
Information.
Right.
You should be afraid to share your machine technology. The one thing that's appalling.
It's proprietary voting technology the United States uses to conduct its elections. Fuck off.
Is that Dominion is suing.
Yeah, I'm going to sue the DOD because I think their guidance missiles are actually, their guidance systems aim their missiles at the United States, and that every plane crash we've had has been shot down by the DOD, and therefore I need to see the software for the DOD's guidance systems that Boeing and Raytheon have created. It's my right as an American. Eat a bag of frog assholes. Go away.
And at the same time saying, no, we're not going to let you look at our machines, and therefore we're not going to let you have truth as a defense. If they are so certain about their machines being what they say they are.
Yeah, Your Honor, this I know this woman presents herself as married with happy family and a good job and stuff, but I've been her lover for years. I've had sex with her every weekend. Every time she's out, basically we have sex, and I can prove it. She just needs to stand up and take off all her clothes, and I'll point to the parts of her body that I touched. I can draw her. I'll draw her naked body, but I'm going to need a picture of it first. This is fucked up.
Be willing to have everybody look at them. They can preserve their business secrets. They can keep.
No, they can't. Just ask the Cyber Ninjas North Dakota secret lab.
Some of the material under seal, but the defense has to have an opportunity to evaluate through their.
Well, if you can't, then your argument will be the part they kept under seal is the part that connects to Venezuela through the ghost of Hugo Chavez's router.
The machines to see whether.
Thanks, Carol.
They are.
I'm glad you appreciate my Herbert Lom. Few do.
Or as they claim they are.
No, I want to ask.
I'm glad that frog assholes makes you laugh. That's my.
There, because maybe you know about this because
He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
The news goes Fox on us, but in Colorado.
Yeah, sell those T-shirts, dickhead.
Alan, it's called the Trusted Build, and we've had it on the show many times. I've been very much involved with that in Mesa County, and through every single machine in Colorado, they have took out the logs of the 2020 election and gotten rid of them. And
yeah, because they don't stay on the machine after every fucking election. They have servers for that. They store it. It's put on hard disk because these are moving parts. They could crash. They're not on chips. It doesn't have an SSD drive in it. What's wrong with you? You're a moron.
We actually have before and after of what they got rid of.
Right, because they preserve it. You have before and you have after. And the state has the contents. And the contents match the before. What the fuck is the problem?
In Wisconsin, they tried to put in the Trusted Build. They're calling it a maintenance thing. Now,
it is a maintenance thing. This is how they've always run. 25 fucking years.
They did delete the 2020 election, which they're supposed to hold for 22 months.
They have it. They store it on hard drive, on CD-ROM in most cases. I think on discs, on like hard discs.
Federal law So in my mind,
They don't store it on the fucking machines for 22 months. There's elections to prep. They don't keep it on the machines. There's no reason to. It's like the IRS coming to an accountant and going, "Let me see your calculator." You know, what are you talking about? I need to see your calculator. Why? Well, because you're supposed to keep track of your books. Well, I did. I've got a ledger right here. It's all the, so it's, yeah. Yeah, but you did all the calculating on the calculator. Right. Well, let's see the calculator. What? It doesn't stay in the calculator. It resets every time I clear for every time I do a new equation, I write it down. This is the record. Well, you're under arrest. Why? Because you didn't store it on the calculator. You don't have a calculator that you keep for every equation. Fuck, this is dumb.
I know they broke a federal crime, and then
No, they didn't broke a federal crime. They broke a federal crime.
Colorado State.
You got your chocolate in my federal crime. You got your federal crime in my chocolate.
State law. But I'm asking you this, as
Shit.
with lawsuits.
I was trying to use calculator as the most ridiculous thing because it doesn't hold any memory. It was you guys are shitting on me for being a boomer about this. I'm not a boomer. I'm younger than that, you assholes. But for the record, in deference to the boomers that are here, hats off. But do you want me to get out my 128K Mac that has floppy disks and then explain to everybody how there's nothing stored in it once I'm done? God damn.
I personally have, where I sued Dominion, where MyPillow went after Dominion for the First Amendment, what we talked about there.
Yeah, and that got flushed down a toilet.
They are also
Thank you, Professor Funbags. The calculator is a perfect analogy. God damn it.
Evidence themselves. And by if I'm saying if you assume everything I'm saying is true there, that they did.
No one does. No one assumes everything you say is true, Mike, for two reasons. One, you are a moron who misunderstands almost every detail put in front of you, which is readily evident in every analogy that you make. And two, you're a prick. We used to think you were just a lovable sap who was just being taken advantage of. Now we know you're actually god-awful, mainly by the company you keep.
Fact, delete stuff from the 2020 election. Isn't that under the preservation thing that you're supposed to preserve evidence?
Yeah, the preservation thing. You mean the thing where they actually preserve the results of the election, the voting rolls, the ballots, the tallies, and the totals, which they do? Because if you left it on the machines, it would be lost.
Absolutely right. And
no, it's not absolutely right. Can we get someone from the Geek Squad to just sit in a small frame in the corner just shaking their head? Like just somebody from Best Buy going, "What the fuck?" Like he's like the technological version of a sign language interpreter to just sit down in the middle of this going in a blue shirt.
There's a doctrine in law that if you're supposed to preserve evidence and you destroy it, the inference has to be drawn against you that the evidence would be incriminating.
Then nothing was lost. Nothing. So either of you start going prove that they did not preserve it, because they did. They did. And again, asserting that you have evidence that they did not when you do not is not about belief. You've gone past the idea that I believe Venezuela is blah because I saw some things and I kind of tied it together. Is totally different from I know for a fact that they stole it because I've seen the evidence. Where is it? I have it in my possession. I have evidence in my possession that I have verified. Through who? Some people. Which people? This guy. That guy says it's not true. Well, not him. He was terrible.
A big case on that many, many years ago at the beginning of my career, when the government destroyed evidence of wiretaps and the defendants all went free. It's the spoliation doctrine. If you have in your possession evidence, you know you're going to be sued, and you don't preserve the evidence, the jury has the right to assume that that evidence would have been helpful to the other side and hurtful to your side.
Oh, great. So everybody who's in his in Alan Dershowitz's class action lawsuit, I'm talking to you right now. If you've been given one of these letters from Dominion and you've been told to preserve records, which is apparently what has happened, according to your attorney, if you don't, the presumption is you got rid of them because you're hiding something and that it goes towards Dominion's side, so you're going to lose $1 billion. Thanks, Alan. Thanks. And by the way, does that scare the shit out of you? Did your own lawyer just scare the shit out of you by reminding you that if you don't follow through in that preservation of documents stuff that you've been asked to do according to this legal document that you got, because you didn't fight back and say, no, I'm not going to preserve documents. I have no right, no reason to do so. And then they follow through with the lawsuit, and your destruction of those documents taken by the jury as an understood that it proves that you had ulterior motives and you were hiding the truth. Is that scary? It should be. It should be fucking scary because this company's suing people for billions of dollars. Therefore, you can now sue your own attorney for damages because he scared the shit out of you by telling you the law.
That's an argument that's going to be made. Unfortunately, I only have one more minute, so let's have one.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yep.
So let me ask one more. What we're doing tonight, talk television, talk radio, all the things we do, is this the free give and take of public talk radio, rather the left or the right? Is that basically going to be over if these lawsuits go the way of Dominion?
Look, we'll always have people.
No. We've always had libel laws.
We're willing to take a risk, but that shouldn't be necessary. It shouldn't be that you have to take a risk to speak out in America. In China, you have to take a risk. In Iran, you have to take a risk. In Cuba, you have to take a risk. In America, you shouldn't have to take a risk.
Yeah, there's no risk. If you can, shit on someone and accuse them of, and not just accuse them of being awful, because that's in free speech, but say to the public and the world at large that you are in a position of knowledge because you've been to the White House, you're connected to people who've been to the White House, in the case of Mike Lindell, that you have information in your possession that proves this very thing, and you're going to the Supreme Court with it when you absolutely do not have that information and you are lying to the public about it and you are creating libel out of a secondary lie, fuck you.
You have to take a risk that you look foolish. You should have to take a risk that you'll be defeated in the marketplace of ideas.
And he's talking to you, Brandon and Mike.
But you shouldn't have to take a risk that you'll lose your family earnings, you'll lose your pension, you'll have to hire a lawyer. That's not the American way. The American way.
Well, dude, a con job, that's how a con works. If you're going to con somebody, there is a strong chance you could go to jail for a good long while. That's how cons work. You're rolling the dice on, if they catch me in this con, I'm going to jail. That's what these guys are doing. This is a grift. The risk about this is the grift being uncovered.
Is you have the right to speak and the other side has the right to answer. So let's continue this debate.
Yeah, but you don't get to continually slander or libel someone out of existence. If they're going to lose their job because of what you're saying, they don't just have to take it. They have recourse. If you're making money, if you're selling ads on the very programs where you are slandering their business, they can sue you for the money you're making off their backs.
Of ideas, and I want to commend you for having this show, because the great thing about America is they'll never stop us from using one media or another to get our views across. Today, Facebook shut down.
Yeah, that's what Stormfront says.
For a while. Others take over. We always have in our country the ability to speak out, and as long as I'm around as a lawyer, I will.
Yeah. That you mean there are other outlets that are always open, so there's no reason to worry that that if you get, so you're not being censored, you're not losing your free speech if you get kicked off of Facebook. Thanks for saying so, because there's always other outlets, and speech is a personal thing, and no company has a personal responsibility. Like, Facebook doesn't owe everybody money for being down for 6 hours because they violated the free speech of every user in the United States. Obviously, most of their users don't have the freedom of speech, so that makes it easier on them, I guess.
Fight for that ability. So thank you for the opportunity to fight to the First Amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks for this unique opportunity to fight for the... Okay, so it's a paid consulting. He's a paid consultant on this. This is by the hour. This extra minute that he's being on here, that he's talking about, this is a paid visit, in my opinion. I believe I can fly. All right.
God bless. We'll see you.
too.
God bless. He can't say God bless America. Can't do it. Why can't he do it? All right. Now, that was a long one. I'm already an hour over. Holy shit, that was a lot. It was raced by, and I still have this dipshit and that dipshit. It's too much. All right, this is the Dominion is the government, not a private firm. Is this the same?
I want to play the Alan Dershowitz clip.
Okay, so this is all right. They're just doing this. This is overlap on this one. All right, that one's 6 minutes and 55. This one's 8 minutes and 22. God damn it. These will both, it's hard to say. Hannity, D'Souza, Hannity, D'Souza. We've done more D'Souza, but I'm sorry, but this one's making me laugh right away. So, a centrist claims American political polarization is a misunderstanding, and he's completely wrong. A misunderstanding. Here we go.
Do you know who David French is? Well, Debbie doesn't. She goes, we got something coming up. She goes, who's David French? I'm going to have to Google him.
What? Oh, the joy they have. I don't know who the fuck you're talking about. We always laugh about how misinformed and uninformed Debbie is. It's always a battle. Is she more misinformed or uninformed? We have a coin that says miss and un on it. We just flip it every day.
Oh, David, you got a long way to go. My wife doesn't even know who you are. Well, anyway.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about you. Never mind. All right. Well, it's great. He's scraping the bottom of the barrel. He's got guests on that his wife doesn't even know who they are. All right, Hannity. Let's see if we catch him vaping again.
Held hostage.
Somebody's trying to scrape some out of Glenn Beck's bowl.
Behind enemy lines, day 51.
All right, welcome to Hannity Busy News Night, day 51.
Hold on. Why are the closed captions on? Busy News Night. By the way, congratulations on winning the Fire Plug in a Suit Look award for the 5th year running.
Our fellow Americans, that's right, abandoned. Thousands of Americans, green card holders eligible to be in this country, abandoned.
Yeah, you're so worried about green card eligible people abandoned. Please.
And allies, tens of thousands of them abandoned. Their families abandoned behind enemy lines thanks to Joe.
Behind enemy lines. Oh, you mean where? Let's see. Hold on. Do you think this will be covered? Hold on. Let's see. You don't, is this part of the story? Hold on. What? Chip. Hold on. Chip's crying. Hold on. All right. We've been gone so long on this. I might as well talk amongst yourself. Oh, buzz off. Give me 1 second. He's crying outside the door. I got to see why. Give me 1 second. Chip. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Chip, you can't not be in here. Are you feeling left alone? I do. Hi, buddy. He was meowing outside the door. What? What is it? Do I have to get a cat tree just so you can sit in here and rest on it? By the way, hello to all the dogs that jump at the screen every time Chip comes on. Look who it is. Look who it is. Hashtag keep Chip. Oh, it's getting so hard. Hi, buddy. Psst, psst, psst. There you go. Kisses. He's a kisser. He's a kisser. He is. He's a good kisser. He is. He gives kisses. He's all right. He just went here. You want to sit in my lap? You want to sit here, or you want to climb on stuff? Yeah. He's just curling up. He does. He wants just some sitting love. What are you doing? You cannot walk on the desk right now. You cannot. You cannot. You will step on things. He so wants to just jump up on the new. You cannot jump on you. New. You cannot. No, you cannot. Not at all, young man. Not at all. Okay, here, hop down. You can run around in here a little bit, or if you want to sit, you're fine. He curled up under my seat, under my stool, like right down on the floor down here. And he's gonna start attacking. I have a cardboard box on the floor. He's just gonna attack it. Get it? What are you doing? Hey, no, you're not biting tape. Oh my gosh, you crazy boy. There, out. Nope. He's gonna start meowing again, or he's gonna push his way. I'm not gonna lock him out. He's just telling me that it's time to wrap the show. He totally is the HSRPM mascot right now. You know, Kitty Draper a tower. I totally do. Yeah, so cute. Oh my God. Yeah. Don't get me started. I'm gonna miss him too. We kind of have a home, but he's got to get his shots, and it's a friend of Summer's, so he might be close by, but it's not up to us because whatever. Anyways, apparently this is not a story you're gonna hear about, in terms of Fox News. It's hard to sell the whole behind enemy lines bullshit with Sean Hannity. Is us working with the Taliban to fight ISIS, like we did with the Syrians and the Kurds and some of the Iraqis, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But anyways, let's just see if this is more word salad from Hannity, because this is, the volume of blather from Hannity always. We know that Tucker loses track, like he loses his thought, kind of rambles and bounces around. But Hannity's stuff is just kind of gibberish, and he has to hold while the teleprompter's going by, and so he has to kind of fill.
Biden, and tonight it is more clear than ever. Joe Biden, his radical socialist friends are completely, totally incompetent and clueless, and have no desire to help bail out our fellow Americans. They caused this. This was entirely
bail out our fellow Americans.
And they're not lifting a finger to help Americans in need. Everything they do causes an unmitigated disaster. Look at the record. Afghanistan.
Well, maybe Sean, they're trying to help by not helping. Maybe that's why. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to help by not helping.
COVID-19, Labor Day last year versus this year, 300% increase. Look at the economy. Look at inflation.
Yeah, because of Republicans and runaway cases. Look at the economy. Look at inflation. Yeah, right.
Eliminating energy independence that we had achieved under the Trump administration for the first time in 75 years.
By not going anywhere. It's amazing how little energy you use when everyone's locked down.
We're now all paying about $1.50 more a gallon, and Joe's begging.
Now that we're doing stuff.
OPEC to produce more energy. By the way, Joe, you could ask Texas and Oklahoma and North Dakota and.
Well, they are, but they'll sell it on the open market at the going rate. And if OPEC lowers output, then our producers get more on the open market for it, and they'll end up selling it to Europe and other sites instead of it raises the price of our own domestic oil supply. But you wouldn't understand that because you're a dum-dum.
Alaska, they can increase their production, and guess what? We can be energy independent again. You can secure the border.
We'd also use up everything that we have.
The wall, keep the Remain in Mexico policy. That problem will be solved too.
Actually, the Remain in Mexico policy is, for better or worse, currently in place by court order. We know this. And had nothing to do with the Haitians coming across. None of that.
You should go back and get our fellow Americans in Afghanistan.
We're going to get them in Afghanistan? Oh, we get them in Afghanistan. I see. Hi.
Approval ratings at an all-time low. And this year, at sporting events all across the country, Jimmy Kimmel, pay attention. Guess what? They've been chanting the following. F Joe Biden en masse. Take a look.
Joe Biden!
Yes, southern states full of assholes. There's enough of them there. And by the way, you know why they can do that? It's because nobody who's a Biden supporter is going to start a fist fight over bullshit like that or pull out a gun and shoot them. Whereas if you did a fuck Trump thing, there's lunatics threaded through that entire thing that would follow you to your car and hit you with a tire iron because you dared to say something negative about Der Fuhrer.
Biden administration's a train wreck. Democrats are in a civil war. And you, the American people, have no reason to be happy over any of this.
No reason to be happy at all. Hi. What are you doing? Come here. Come here, you. Come here. What are you doing? Why are you climbing my leg? Why are you climbing it? I'm trying to talk about John Hannity and how stupid he is. You know this.
Over the weekend, more chance. Look at Talladega Speedway over the weekend. Take a look.
And by the way, why the fuck is this news? Are we just going to go to all the redneck gatherings? And?
It's an unbelievable moment.
Brandon, you also told me you can hear the chants from the crowd. Let's go, Brandon.
It's happening everywhere, spontaneously. The media mob, they're doing everything possible to protect Joe Biden. First, it was the candidate protection program. Now it's the presidential protection program. A task, by
Which is a phrase you just made up. Yeah.
It's growing more impossible.
Yes, I don't know why he's getting more orange. It's a cult thing. It's how you become a bishop in the Church of Trump. Is that you're allowed to start wearing the burnt orange foundation.
Now, another crisis for Joe Biden.
Uh-oh.
His insane spending bills, socialism bills, they are now stuck in limbo. They cannot be passed at the moment. Doesn't seem like any time in the near future. Majorities in the House, the Senate, Democrats are unable to pass their own $1 trillion infrastructure bill.
I'm sorry. Who can't pass an infrastructure bill? I'm sorry, who can't? Because all the House has to do is vote for the main infrastructure bill, and it goes right to the president's desk. The recon bill still has to go through Senate and go back to the House and get passed again. The infrastructure bill doesn't. The minute it gets voted on, it goes straight to Biden's desk, fucko, and everybody's on board. No matter what happens, there's going to be a vote on it. It doesn't have to pass the Senate again. They didn't change anything else.
As well as their radical New Green Deal socialist bill, $3.5 trillion, their Build Back Better proposal that raises taxes on all of us in spite of their lying.
And by the way, all of us means everybody who works at Fox who makes millions of dollars a year. All of us means the three people that Sean Hannity gives a fuck about. Him, his executive producer, and the head of the network. The people he vapes with or some shit.
Hold up. Of course, we have a Civil War standoff between liberal Democrats and then the more socialist, bordering on statist communist Democrats. On Friday, what many are calling a weird, hollow gesture, Joe Biden did nothing. He just limped over to the Capitol.
For the record, weird, hollow gesture, they negotiated on it. He brought the bill down to 1.7 or 2.2. There was a meeting going on. There was actual work happening. It's nothing you would know anything about, you bloviated weirdo.
And encouraged his fellow Democrats to get along and to play nice. But here's the interesting part. According to a Politico reporter, Joe actually attempted. He was willing to take questions from other congressmen and senators in the press. His staff, again, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. No, they get mad at me. They're going to yell at me. If I take a question, I'm not allowed. Joe, you're the president.
Is that, sorry. And by the way, I don't know Sarah Ferris, but is the implication there that that's what he felt like? Or did they just go, we don't have time? We've been here for 2 hours. If you get into it with this bullshit, they're gonna ask for stuff and you're gonna have to say no, and they're gonna walk home all angry, or they're gonna go right to a microphone and say that you sold them this, or that this would work, or this wouldn't work. There's nothing wrong. I mean, it's a tweet though. It's probably true.
It's almost as if Joe Biden isn't in charge, isn't it? In other words, his staff knows he's a cognitive mess. Now, we do know for a fact.
The question is, Sean, does your staff know you're a cognitive mess? I mean, I know they know you snort something before the show every night, because the sniffing is a dead giveaway. It's a lot. I mean, who talks like that? It's really weird. Even pretending to do it feels strange. You know what I mean? When you're like, we got this, that, blah, 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 blah. Who lives like that? What is that? What is that? Ritalin? Is it the mix of Adderall? Is it meth?
Radical socialists, they're ruling the Democratic Party with an iron fist. And per usual, they are...
An iron fist. An iron fist that, actually made out of granola.
Definitely not playing nice. This weekend, look at this in Arizona. One unhinged group of activists, including several illegal immigrants, stalking Democratic Senator Kristen Sinema.
Something like that. Yeah, Cinnamon.
Chased her into a bathroom stall and stayed outside the stall and kept filming. Wow.
We need a Build Back Better plan right now.
We knocked on doors. We need solutions to the Build Back Better plan. We have the solutions that we need.
Yeah, there's a dude filming in the bathroom. Not cool, gross, and yeah, the illegals he's talking about are the DACA recipients. There were 2 DACA recipients there. That's what he's talking. That's what he means by illegal. Just a heads up.
Gonna stand there and film while she's going to the bathroom? Senator Sinema, one of only 2 Democrats refusing to rubber stamp Biden's insane, and it is insane. We can't afford it. These policies will fail. These are false promises. You will give up your freedom. It will result in more poverty. Like
how? I mean, I love these assertions. They're spectacular, and they totally make sense, and they absolutely. I mean, you've been trustworthy so far. Why? Uh-oh, somebody home? Who's here? Who is it? Mama's home? Okay, there you go. Summer's home, so he's running after her. Sure, leave me in the lurch, get all attached, and then you run off.
Socialist utopia, in the past has done. And by the way, $3.5 trillion, their eco-socialist amnesty for all spending bill. And tonight she's
eco-socialist amnesty for all. Amnesty for all. Please cite a part of the bill that explains where you get that from.
Now, Democrat.
I'm kidding. He's not seen it.
Leadership for their quote inexcusable, deeply.
That is their quote. Is it the word quote? Is it like a poker tick that you sniff every time you say the word quote?
Disappointing actions, and Senator Sinema's colleague, Joe Manchin, also refusing to sign off on this monstrosity. And the liberal Democrat from West Virginia will only commit to a mere $1.5 trillion bill. Okay, some level of fiscal responsibility, I guess. I don't think we should be spending a penny, especially after all the money we had to spend as it relates to the worst pandemic since 1917 and 18. Even Manchin is confronted by activists on his houseboat.
We've seen this footage. This is boring.
Being stalked and harassed by other Democrats. You would think that maybe Joe Biden would speak out, right? According to Joe, it's just part of a process for those that don't enjoy the Secret Service protection that he enjoys. Take a look.
Joe Manchin had people on kayaks show up to his boat. Senator Sinema last night was chased into a restroom. Do you think that those tactics are crossing a line?
I don't think they're appropriate tactics, but it happens to everybody. From the only people it doesn't happen to are people who have Secret Service standing around them. It's part of the process.
Just part of the process. You won't stick up for your fellow senators. I guess then it's all part of the process. You getting F. Joe Biden all over every stadium around the country.
Every stadium or just the redneck ones?
getting followed into a bathroom stall, videotape while going to the bathroom. Is that part of the
allegedly going to the bathroom?
Do you support Joe? Whatever happened to
No, he doesn't. That's why he says he doesn't approve of the tactic, dipshit.
For a woman's right to privacy? What about showing up at someone's
Why did you sniff when you said a woman's right to privacy? What is that?
house and shouting them down where they live? That's part of the process, Joe? And what if someone came to your basement during your midday nap, Joe? It's not appropriate. It's wrong. It's unethical. And you should have stuck up.
Is it always this petty on Hannity's thing? Is this how desperate he is every day? Or is this a special day? Does Hannity's staff let him like flip out like this once a week and just wail about like, just let me say he's old and doddering and takes nappies and blah, blah, blah. And we'll do that one day a week. And then the rest of the week, I'll try and pretend I have a grip on reality.
For both
it's always
and
Susan.
cinema. Mob rule is never part of the process, Joe, but...
I'm sorry. January 6th supporter says what? Mob rule is never a part of the process? Oh, so I take it you're angry with Trump for what he said to Mark Meadows or McCarthy on the day when he said, I guess these people just care more about the election than you do? Mob rule? You're really going to pull your side of the aisle built a fucking gallows.
Right? You wouldn't even talk about the 534 riots in the summer of 2020. Democrats only want to talk.
Yeah, he did. He said peaceful protest is important. It's integral to our democracy, but violence should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. All the time.
About January 6th. They don't want to talk about the riots that killed dozens of Americans, injured thousands of cops, pelted with bricks and rocks and bottles and Molotov.
Yeah, they did. First of all, they're not happening right now. Joe Biden's America. Remember when we were showing the video of the riots last summer and Trump was making ads calling it Joe Biden's America? When's the last time you saw one of those things? When's the last time you saw like brutal like looting and burning? I mean, besides Portland, which is, it's now part of the normal culture there.
Cocktails and dozens of people killed, thousands of cops injured. And Joe Biden, he's been what he's been his entire life, a dishonest life.
Why are you sniffing like that, Sean? And you've seen the footage of him being against physical violence and rioting and the like, period. You know this.
Long swamp, sewer, politician ingrained.
Okay, now we're at the refrigerator poetry part of Hannity's opening.
With always swamp. Now, true to form.
Yeah, with swamp, it's what? What?
Or politician ingrained with always swamp.
Shit. Say that again.
Biden, he's been what he's been his entire life, a dishonest, lifelong swamp, sewer, politician ingrained with always swamp.
Okay, that makes sense. Hey, this guy talks for a living. Me make words good. Thank you, Fiverr. Can anybody put together what the fuck that was? Besides, obviously, the teleprompter either went dark or was moving too slowly. So he was just like, all I could see is, I think that word is swamp. Is that word swamp? It's only halfway up the screen.
True to form, Joe Biden just can't stop lying about the $3.5 trillion, quote, Build Back Better bill. It's all bumper sticker and a slogan and a lie.
Really? Whatever. But swamp-like person, swamp a guy, swamp politician, always swamp.
He's someone that actually is claiming and still claiming, and people on his staff are claiming that.
This doesn't look like it was taken out of context or anything. What more could you need?
Spend $3.5 trillion. It will cost you nothing. That's a lie. Even the Washington Post accused Biden of lying, gave him a few Pinocchios for that one, referring to his lie as a dubious gimmick. That's being polite. It's a lie. Hey,
you mean a right-wing... hold on. Hey, Sean, before you ditch out on that one, let's see. Glenn Kessler. Since we're just finishing up Washington Post Tuesday. Okay. Let's see. This must have been Giant Paul's October. What's today's the 6th, so it was the 5th. McAuliffe falsely claims Youngkin took over predatory dental clinics. What? This is his fact checker, or this is latest from Gun. Okay, so Youngkin took over predatory dental clinics. Campaign effort. Okay, there's a Terry McAuliffe ad. Kevin McCarthy's claim that Biden's plan will raise taxes on families making over $50,000. Okay, so this is the actual fact check, I think. Let's see if it's in here. Facts. Republicans are hanging their hat on two technicalities. One relates to Biden's proposed corporate tax increase, and the other relates to a latter part of the 10-year window for calculating the impact of the policies on revenue. The second technicality is rather ironic, but let's first deal with the corporate tax. Biden has proposed raising the corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%. The top rate has been 35%, a level Democrats and Republicans agreed was too high, but until the GOP tax bill in 2017 slashed it. So, right, 25% is actually in the bill. Weird. Okay. And the 30, okay. Whatever. During the campaign, 5 respected organizations calculated the cost. They broadly agreed that virtually all of the revenue in Biden's tax plan would be gathered from the very wealthy or from corporations, with about half the money coming from the top 0.1% and 3/4 from the top 1% households. But when you dug into the distribution tables, these groups, they nevertheless estimated some of the burden from the tax increases would fall on people making less than $400,000. The amounts are relatively small, an average of $15 for the bottom quintile, $90 for the second quintile, $180 for the middle quintile, and $360 for the fourth quintile. Which, can you imagine comparing that to the savings that are included in, for example, the child tax credit and the like? But, okay, so why is this the case? Corporate tax increase. All of these groups, the Congressional Budget Office and the Treasury Department assume corporations adjust to a higher tax by reducing investment returns or cutting workers' wages. TPC, for instance, assumes that over time, 60% of the corporate tax is borne by shareholders, 20% is borne by capital owners, and 20% is borne by labor. Those reductions are reflected in their after-tax income distribution tables, even if none of those lower-wage workers would notice a different effect when filing their tax returns, meaning fewer hours, and they cut hours, so people lose that money. In theory, and broadly across the entire swath, one lost worker is $310 off of a bunch of workers over the course of a year is the idea. The Biden administration has said that they are working to craft the tax to make sure that doesn't happen. But there you go. By reversing some of Trump's tax cut for corporations, Biden gets dinged by the same tax models. This is the same kind of thing. During the campaign, Biden's team suggested $400,000 pledge was tied to the actual tax returns filed by individuals. I'm trying to find the actual let's see. All right, here we go. We attached the Joint Tax Committee estimates of the bill advanced by the House Ways and Means Committee for the years 2027, 2029, and 2031. The JCT tables attached clearly show that the average tax rates and gross amount of taxes filed for filers in the income ranges between $400,000, including those who make $50,000 a year. Why those years? This brings us to the second technicality. The JCT distribution tables for the earlier years, 2023 and 2025, actually show sharp decreases in taxes for taxpayers making $50,000. Taxes would fall almost 15% for people making $40,000 to $50,000, and 6% for people making $50,000 to $75,000, and taxes would be cut 80% for people making $20,000 to $30,000. This shows that Democrats' tax credits for lower-income Americans would easily outpace the modest impact of the corporate tax increase. So, fuck off. This is from what they're talking about here. Well, what happens after 2025? That's when Trump's tax cuts start expiring because of the way the Republicans crafted the law. Let's see. The Pinocchio test. Reasonable people can argue whether the impact of the indirect taxes, such as corporate taxes, should be included in the distribution tables when assessing Biden's pledge, but the amounts are relatively minor. McCarthy is able to claim the taxes will be an increase, blah, blah, blah. 3 Pinocchios for Kevin McCarthy on that assumption. Now, perhaps they put something else in one of these. This is Tuesday, he said. That was Tuesday's article from him. The other one's the McAuliffe, there's a few McAuliffe things. Youngkin here. This was technically Monday. Jayapal's claims that the majority of the country supports federal funding of abortion. Hyde Amendment is something the majority of the country does not support. Was according to her. Let's see. In your view, should the government health insurance program for cover abortion or not? 46% say yes. No is 51. 2016 YouGov. Hyde Amendment prohibits federal funding. Do you support the Hyde Amendment? 55% support it. 29% oppose it. 2016 political Harvard poll. Medicaid is the largest government. Currently, the federal government should Medicaid. Do you favor or oppose changing this policy to allow Medicaid funds to be used for abortions? 36% favor it. 58% oppose it. CNN 2014 CNN ORC. Generally speaking, are you in favor of using public funds for abortions when the women cannot afford it? Are you opposed to that? 39% are for it. 56% oppose it. She got 2 Pinocchios on that. Less than McCarthy though. There you go. So that's I don't know where in the article he got that Glenn Kessler bullshit. But ultimately, of course, more nonsense from him. Hold on, let me pop back. What was the top of this one? The president's claim is misleading. Yeah, it doesn't say that at all. So there you go. And there's a reason why he got out so quickly and only played, he only put in half a sentence. This is why I do the whole clip, kids. This is why. This is why I do whatever Hannity posts or any of these people post on their page as a full clip, as a representative of what they were saying. If it's cut short, if it's edited, whatever, that's their version of their truth. But if they play the whole segment, they post the whole segment, I go through the whole segment. Because the alternative is that. Is absolute bullshit, like finely sliced, elements of like half-truths buried in lies while he rambles on with, I think, some of the dumbest. Where was the whole
right to privacy? What about?
Right, hold on. Let's see. Where was this? It was the plane, right? Yeah, here you go.
Came to your basement during your midday nap, Joe. It's not appropriate. It's wrong. It's unethical. And you should have stuck up for both Manchin and Sinema. Mob rule is never part of the process, Joe, but that's right. You wouldn't even talk.
Can't is it? Maybe he just sniffs every time he thinks of Trump. So when he thinks of a woman, he thinks how Trump would, grab her by the genitals without asking her. And he sniffs. And in this one, and he says mob rules, he's reminded of January 6th and the worst attack on our democracy since the War of 1812 or the Civil War. Sniffity sniff.
The 534 riots in the summer of 2020. Democrats only want to talk about January 6th.
Well, no. I mean, none of those were an attack on our democracy. They were an attack on the occasional Target and some stores, and they were wrong, and those places have insurance. But it was not an attack on Target's business model, nation or worldwide. If it was, that would be a bigger piece of noise, one would think. The Target crowd they're probably a Walmart versus Target crowd war in this country. That's the next civil war. I'm just calling it. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go. I went way long today, and I blame Chip. I'm just gonna blame Chip. That's all I'm gonna do. It's not my fault. But thank you guys for hanging around. I have so much more stuff, but I've got to get some sleep because I slept for 3 hours last night and 13 minutes this afternoon. I'm going to try and hold it together for the next 2 hours and change. I'm already yawning, so I've got to like stay awake just so I can go to sleep at a regular time and sleep through the night. Fingers crossed I will. Sometimes after a long night drive, I get like adrenaline that wakes me up in the middle of the night. And so, but wish me luck. I'll try my best. I'll have a cup of, some like herbal tea or whatever, have a lavender bath or some nonsense. I'll or I'll just hold out as long as I can and just march, keep on my feet for the next 3 hours and then just out. Hopefully. So I have gym in the morning really early. It's a Thursday. That's how it works. Anyways, much love to you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Now, remember, Thursdays, I'm an hour later, and there's no morning show. It'll be a morning show on Friday. I will see you then, and you're awesome. Okay, bye.